for this glorious day. Lord, we praise and thank you for this beautiful, wonderful country that you've given us that's protected by men and women from around the world that have protected us. And Lord, we just thank you for the opportunity to enjoy a race today. Lord, we ask for your safety and direction for each of the drivers, for the crews, for the safety crews, and for us as fans as we go home. Lord, just help us to be the people you want us to be. And we praise and thank you in our Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome Cupid's Players Group of Chicago.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red ray of unspersed singing came through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? For the land of the free and the home of love.
It is an elimination race. Drivers won't have an opportunity to run for the championship after this one. Who will be in the chase? They'll fire the engines next. It all comes down to this, right down to the wire. The last race of the regular season. Jeremy Clements currently 14th. Dakota Armstrong 13th. They're on the outside looking in, trying to get into the chase. Ryan Sieg sits right on the cutoff line as the clock continues to tick. Blake Cook currently 11th, trying to hold on to a 23-point advantage over that cut line. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway as we get ready for the final race of the regular season for the Xfinity Series before the chase begins. Let's go back trackside to Mike Massaro.
Well, Rick, every playoff system needs a wild card team, and Dakota Armstrong is hoping to be just that. But to do it, he needs to overcome some adversity today. He's below the cutoff line, needs to make up 20 points. I spoke with him earlier this week, and he said, there's no pressure on us. It's on everyone else. But he wasn't being unrealistic. He said, we need some help. We need some other teams to make some mistakes, but we're planning to be there to capitalize if they do happen. Kelly?
In spite of being 11th in the chase standings with a 23-point cushion, Blake Cook told me he's been a nervous wreck all week. Couldn't relax until he put his helmet on in practice yesterday. Now he knows the task at hand. Have a good, clean race. Stay out of trouble. He's got a good starting spot. He'll roll off 13th, Marty.
Kelly, Jeremy Clements knows that he must have some help today to make it in the Xfinity Series chase in 2016. He told me moments ago, though, I kind of wish it was 2015 because he came into this race last year 11th in the championship standings. He told me that obviously would have been good enough to put us in the chase. He said, no matter what, though, I'm proud of what our race team has accomplished this year. We have 5 full-time employees on this team, and here we are still with a shot to make the chase. He needs some luck to go his way, but Jeremy Clements still holding out hope he'll be in the chase. Dave?
Marty, I'll do you one better than that. Ryan Sieg has 4 full-time employees at his small team in Tucker, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. He's a 29-year-old going for his first Xfinity Series championship if he can hold it together here this afternoon. He is the last man in with a 20-point cushion, and in his favor, he loves the mile-and-a-half tracks, and his team has performed very well on them here this weekend. Rick, they're the little team that could all year long, and they may be again today.
And Dave, so many drivers trying to make a name for themselves in the Xfinity Series, get an opportunity to make it to the Sprint Cup Series. It's time for the engines of fire. We go trackside for the command.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome your Grand Marshal, National Highway Travel Safety Administration Administrator, Dr. Mark Rosekind.
Drivers, start your engines.
You get fired up here whenever you're ready. Just fired up here when you're ready. Fire in the hole, bud. Fire, bud. Fire up. Hey, when you're ready. Fire in the hole. Fire up. Fire in the hole. All right, fire when you're ready.
40 cars come to life, expecting 200 laps, 300 miles at Chicagoland Speedway. That's coming up next. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by AutoZone. Hoods up, America. AutoZone has everything you need to get in the zone. AutoZone. Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. And by Xfinity. Change the way you experience TV with Xfinity X1. cars just beginning to roll off of pit road. Today's starting grid brought to you by AutoZone. Row number 1 made up with Kyle Busch and Daniel Suarez. Suarez, a 24-year-old out of Monterrey, Mexico, and won at Michigan earlier this year.
In row 2, we have a pair of junior motorsports drivers. They both won here in Chicago, Justin Allgaier and Elliott Sadler.
Row 3, we have Eric Jones with 3 wins already this season. Will start next to Sprint Cup regular Paul Menard.
In row 4, Clint Boyer and Kyle Larson, 2 Sprint Cup regulars. This is Clint Boyer's first Xfinity start since 2012.
Yeah, row 5, we have Joey Logano starting next to Ty Dillon, who's locked into the chase, going to try to win his first championship.
We have Brendan Poole starting in row 6, who has a streak of 3 top 10s in his last 3 races. He'll start next to Brendan Gaughan.
Back in row 7, that's Blake Cook in the 11, and he is 23 points to the good in making the chase today.
In row 8, we have Darrell Wallace Jr. This racetrack's been good to him. 2 top 10s in both starts, starting next to Ross Chastain.
Well, row 9, we have the bubble drivers. Ryan Sieg, currently 12th in points, 20 to the good. Will start next to Jeremy Clements, who's currently 14th in the points, 29 behind.
Back in row 10, it's the 44 of J.J. Yaley and the 01 of Ryan Preece. Ryan Preece, a 25-year-old out of Berlin, Connecticut. And now we'd like to welcome in Ty Dillon. Jeff?
Hey, Ty, it's Jeff up in the NBC booth. You with us? Hey, Ty, it's Jeff up in the NBC booth. You got us?
Yeah, buddy, got you loud and clear.
Well, you and your team have done a good job so far this year. You've got yourself locked into the chase. What's your strategy going into this race?
Yeah, as far as the chase goes, the pressure's off for us today, but we definitely want to win this race, get some good momentum going into it. I think you'll see everybody sizing each other up a little bit, getting squared up for the chase and everything that's going to go down going to Homestead. So it's a good week to get our momentum rolling and put ourselves in a good position.
Going into the chase, there's a lot of tracks that you guys have to race on that are this size. You think that makes this race that much more important?
I think it does. You got to be able to prove that you can run up front in these races and get the points that you need to and win these races to get yourself to the next round.
Well, we know you'll be mashing the gas hard. We'll be watching. Have a good day.
Thanks, man.
And leading the field is the 2016 Toyota Camry, the official pace car for today's race. We're going to ride along with a few different drivers, including the 48 of Brendan Poole. He has the DC Solar in-car camera and will start 11th today. A little bit closer to the front, Joey Logano has the Ford onboard camera and will start in row 5. Eric Jones is up in row 3 and is carrying the Advanced Auto Parts in-car camera today. And up in the front row, it's the Toyota onboard camera of Daniel Suarez. He starts 2nd today, just outside of Kyle Busch. Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. A great perspective, and it will be exciting when the restarts and the initial start of this race take place. All of the moving that these cars will do from side to side as they rocket into turn number 1. Take a look at the race analysis for today's race in Chicagoland. The race length, 200 laps, 300 miles on this 1.5-mile track. It's 45 miles per hour on pit road, and that is going to be bringing the speeds way down from when they'll be going over 180, 190 miles an hour on the racetrack. That fuel window, 55 to 60 laps.
Yeah, Rick, that fuel window may come into play today as well. These Goodyear tires seem to be lasting very, very well, so the Sunoco fuel will be stretched. And remember, we'll have a competition caution at lap 25 due to the weather that came through last night.
Let's go down trackside to Dave Burns.
Rick, I've already set up the story, the underdog story of Ryan Sieg and his small team. And when you come down to the over-the-wall crew, you'll see a variety of uniforms and crew members. The pit box is actually from BK Racing, but this is an assembled group from 4 different teams that will service his car when it comes to pit road. The good news is that's the way it's been all year, and this group has worked together to give Ryan the best stops possible. Kelly?
Well, this is a hometown race for Justin Allgaier, who's in that red number 7 car. He's from nearby Riverton, Illinois, and boy, would he like to get a win here. He has come so close so many times this season, finishing runner-up 3 times. He admitted to me today that that's got them frustrated to not have secured a win, but hungry for more. He said this race can either give you confidence and momentum headed into the chase, or it can take it away in a hurry. They hope to be going in with that confidence.
I want to listen into the 11-car radio of Blake Koch, currently 11th in the point standings, 23 points above the cutoff line. Here was the pep talk.
You've done a phenomenal job all year, okay? Like I told you before, you've done a phenomenal job. I'd not rather have anybody else in that race car. So just finish this deal out, then we go race for a championship. You have fun. That's the main thing. You have fun out there, we'll take all the sweat and tears in here, bud. Just have fun.
Yeah, that's Chris Rice's crew chief talking to him. Very high energy guy. Chris he really believes in high energy, believes in motivation. They've worked very, very hard. Started with nothing to build this team this year. They've done a nice job getting them in position. Solidly in at 11th. Has some work to do today, but if they do their job, they're fine and they're in good shape.
Work to do today, as does Kyle Busch, who is out in front and leading this field through turns 3 and 4. Again, Kyle Busch has chosen the inside line for the start of this race. On his outside, the teammate Daniel Suarez making up row number 1. Allgaier and Sadler back in row 2 to get through the restart zone. The green flag is in the air, underway at Chicagoland. Early on, the 22 of Joey Logano ducked to the inside, trying to take advantage of a little bit slower restart.
Yeah, this racetrack, that wide front straightaway, gives drivers a chance to go use that apron, trying to make a move, getting into 1. They're side by side into 3 rather.
Great run by Daniel Suarez in the 19 early as he tries to get by Kyle Busch for the first lap. Who will lead the first lap at Chicagoland?
Joey Logano's down on the apron again. 3 wide back there in row 3.
It was Kyle Busch who was just in front of that 19 when they went across the start-finish line, but now Daniel Suarez takes advantage of the momentum on the high line and gets by Kyle Busch.
Good aggressive move. We talked about him in the beginning of the show. We know he's fast, he's young, he's not afraid to take Kyle Busch on. Did it early in this race.
One of the other things that he's got going for him is he knows he's in the chase. He's already won. He's going to advance a little bit more aggressive if he wants to be in this race.
That's a great sound in it, Steve. When you hear that, you're driving a 19, your crew chief in a 19, the spotter says new leader. What you love to hear.
And Rick, you used the word momentum, and we talk about that for race team seasons and things that are going on, but we're going to talk about that a lot today. The way these Xfinity cars run, the rules package they have with a lot of downforce and a limited amount of power, it really is about momentum. When you get through a set of corners well and carry some speed on the straightaway, that seems to carry you all the way down the straightaway. Maybe even through the next set of corners, you continue to pass cars.
You're talking about momentum. Well, think about momentum on lap 4. Kyle Larson started 8th, has already worked himself into 3rd and battling Kyle Busch for 2nd.
Kyle Larson using that high line, able to get by the 1 of Elliott Sadler. We'll see Kyle Larson run probably a higher line than anybody else on the racetrack, as he will search for grip around this 1.5 miles.
Saw Kyle Busch move to the middle of the racetrack to see what his car drove like there, see if he could get a run on the 19 of Suarez. The whole goal of running in the middle or the top is to carry speed, center of the corner exit, to make these straightaways a little bit longer. Now Kyle Busch working even higher in turns 1 and 2.
But options. That's what makes this racetrack so much fun, Rick. These drivers have options. You watch how they enter the corner. They don't just follow in each other's tire tracks. Whatever line Daniel Suarez takes in this orange 19, that blue 18 of Kyle Busch, he goes to maybe I'll call it the 3rd lane. Not all the way at the top, but up 2 grooves. And look at the momentum it does carry down the front stretch, Jeff.
Now he's going to try to make a move to the outside. Look at the speed down the end of the straightaway. Suarez has no choice but to give you the line. Kyle Busch going to carry speed through the middle. See, Suarez on the bottom in the middle can run the same speed, maybe even quicker. But right here, he just pulls him down the straightaway as the caution comes out.
And the caution does come out. And it looks like the 70. Derek Cope has got into the wall. The right side smashed. It's right front tire coming off.
Some heavy damage there. You see not just sheet metal, but the right front tire is definitely not pointed in the right direction.
He was running 35th at the time of contact. Let's see if we can see what happened.
He's obviously running all by himself, and some sort of failure, whether it's the right front tire or some sort of problem with the suspension, but obviously drove in the corner and it just did not turn.
Up into the wall he went, bringing out the first caution. After 6 completed laps at Chicagoland, Kyle Busch just taking the lead away from Daniel Suarez. Suarez was out front for the first 4 laps. Kyle Busch has led the last 2. And Kyle Busch, after starting on the inside and losing the lead to Daniel Suarez on the outside and then taking the lead away from Daniel Suarez on the outside, would you anticipate to see him restart on the outside?
I was surprised he started on the inside on the start of the race. With the multiple groove racetrack, being able to carry momentum through the middle of the corner, pinch the guy down on the bottom of the racetrack. If you have grip, the middle is really where you want to be, because again, when you're side by side with the car on the inside, you're taking the air off his spoiler, you're making his car not drive as well. So I would be shocked if he took the inside on this restart.
And they will double them up 2 by 2 once debris is cleared off of the racetrack from coming off of the 70 of Derek Cope. Looks like everyone's going to stay out. Pit road is open. No one diving onto pit road. Daniel Suarez out front early, battling Kyle Busch for the lead. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. Thrivent Financial is driven by inspiration. Visit ThriventRacing.com to learn more. And by Goodyear, the official tire of NASCAR. And lights just coming back on for the pace car. They're going to add a lap. And it looks as though Kyle Busch has decided the outside line would be the preferred line for the restart.
last night in the truck race, he chose the bottom on most restarts, but these cars are a little bit different than the trucks, and maybe just that little bit of difference in drag is why the outside works better. But you see Ross Chastain having some sort of a problem, Wrecker having to push him back.
So because he could not continue on, that's why they're adding another lap under caution. Mike?
Well, Rick, Brendan Gaughan was suffering some flu-like symptoms earlier in the weekend, and because of that, he did not spend a lot of time in the race car during practice. So when he rolled off today, he discovered the car's balance was not where he wanted it to be. Extremely tight, so much, in fact, that he stopped on pit road last time down, and they made significant adjustments to the race car. Wedge, track bar, and pulled the spring rubber from the left rear. Brendan thinks that was the right move. They were more than willing to give up the track position in order to get a car he can drive a little easier.
And it was a fuel pump issue for Ross Chastain. That was the reason for the 4 stopping on the track. You can watch every Xfinity Series race with the NBC Sports app and get closer with additional camera angles, driver stats, track information. It's available on mobile, tablet, and connected TVs. All you have to do is download the app and find out more at NBCSports.com/live. Looks as though Ross Chastain rolling behind the wall.
We've already seen some aggressive racing so far today, but back here in 18th place, Brandon Jones in this 33 car, he had to start dead last because he had a problem in qualifying, had to start last, tail end of the field, and he has already worked himself up to 18, so nice job in only 10 laps.
Brandon Jones was fast in the first practice that they had on Thursday, and then yesterday a little bit of an issue during the practice as they come back into the restart zone. Kyle Busch with a good restart on the outside. Elliott Sadler just behind him in the number 1.
See the 42 and the 19 were pushing each other there on the bottom. You saw a big wiggle out of Suarez, but look at what all that energy that he built up with the push from the 42. He clears Kyle Busch. Now Kyle Busch has lost the lead off the bottom and the top.
He's got to be scratching his head because normally Kyle Busch very good on restarts, but this time it was Kyle Larson that gave the 19 a little shove, a little assistance getting into 1. That momentum pays off for Daniel Suarez.
Look how fast the 18 of Kyle Busch ran around the top of 3 and 4. He's looking for a lane as he catches the 19. Suarez is going to give him the bottom as they head to turn 1. They're always going to cross him over and take the bottom, and Kyle will take the top. That's aggressive for teammates early. Zig and zag down the straightaway.
I was watching, wondering, how did Kyle Busch get on the outside? Because I was certain he was going to the inside. Next thing I know, he's trying the outside.
And looking low now as we ride along with Suarez, who goes up the racetrack to catch it. You mentioned teammates and running aggressively. How about that move?
Yeah, that was the 18. Just put his front bumper underneath the rear bumper of his teammate, took the air off the rear spoiler. Suarez had to lift, had to turn right if he had to be to spun out. So good thinking by Kyle Busch, using all the tools available. Watch right here. You can see the right front fender. They never touch. It's just they get so close that it pulls the air off the back of the spoiler on the 19 car. Car starts to come around. He has to lift and chase it up the racetrack.
And I like what Kyle Busch did right there. Daniel Suarez was kind of aggressive. He drove into the corner as we see the 2.
Problems with Paul Menard. Left rear tire is down, and so Menard's trying to get it to pit road, and the green flag stays out.
Does a good job getting to pit road. That can be dangerous when you have to drive across the field. He was running 8th the lap before he had this tire issue.
Yeah, Spotter did a really good job giving him all that information he needed.
And it's a left side tire for Menard going down. Justin Alexander calling him down pit road. They're going to make a left side tire change only, hoping you can get him back out on that racetrack, trying to stay on the lead lap, but that's a tall task, an unfortunate set of circumstances for the 2 car.
It is unfortunate, but with the competition caution coming at approximately lap 25, if he can just stay the first car lap down, then he could get the free pass. So we'll see. Sometimes NASCAR extends when the competition caution comes out because of that early caution. They don't want that to happen. They want it to happen on lap 25.
And Jeff, it's been fun to watch Daniel Suarez today in the 4th positions. We rode along with him a moment ago, and I talked to Scott Graves, his crew chief. He said, we're honestly approaching this weekend as if it is a chase race. We saw him be aggressive. This car is a car that they ran at Charlotte earlier this year. They want to run it in the chase. It hasn't run since May. He said we had to bring it back out and double check it. And something that Dave mentioned in the pre-race, very much on the mind of the 19 team, same tire at Texas and Homestead. Scott Graves told me you could learn something today that might help you win a championship in Miami. So, Steve, as a crew chief, you got to learn whenever you can, and that's what they're trying to do here this weekend.
Well, absolutely, Marty. You know, there's a limitation to testing now, so track time, you don't get a lot of track time. So the fact that you know that you're going to run this tire later in the chase, we talk a lot about tracks and how similar they are. Well, what tire you bring, Jeff, can be as important as what track you run on. So trying to learn something about that tire to help them later this year.
And it's amazing how some drivers like certain tire codes. You know, they always run well in a certain kind of tire. It's very hard to quantify that, but there's no doubt that some drivers have more success on a particular tire than others.
Left side of your screen, you'll see Chase Bubble and the ghost points there as they're running on the track. We'll keep an eye on that. That's the fight for 12th to get in. Right now, Dakota Armstrong 29 points behind Blake Cook, who is currently in that 12th and transfer spot, as he will be fighting for a championship if he can stay in the top 12. Drivers that are in the top 12 will have a yellow bar underneath their name as they scroll across the top. The ones that have won a race and are guaranteed to advance, they have a green bar underneath their name. So that's the way the ticker will work across the top. As we take a quick break, we'll be back before the competition caution from Chicagoland. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver as if you're at the track. You get live stats, leaderboards, driver team communications, and more, all on your devices. It's available now for an all-new low price when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview. Welcome back to the Drive for Safety 300 for the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 48 of Brennan Poole, currently running in the 10th spot, may have had something to do with the 2 and the left side tire going down.
We heard a two-car had the valve stem out of the wheel when it came in, so these two made a little bit of contact. It makes you wonder, Steve, if that's when the valve stem got knocked out.
Yeah, it's odd. You see Valstems get knocked out after pit stops because they get hit with the air gun. Rarely do you see what happened on the racetrack, but you see right here, exiting turn 2, they get very close. It does, to me, look like that left rear of the 2 makes contact with the 48, and now the competition caution is out.
Competition caution, we were told, going to be coming out around lap 25, and sure enough, 25 laps complete as we're on lap 26. The competition caution comes out. It is the second caution of this race. Derek Cope got into the wall early on and brought out the first caution. Now, these drivers will have the opportunity to come to pit road, and they now can add fuel. If they would have come to pit road earlier, they could have just made adjustments to the car, different tires if they wanted, but they couldn't add fuel until this competition caution.
And what I've seen so far in this race, a lot of these Xfinity races, we've seen Kyle Busch drive away from the field, but so far, Kyle Larson and Elliott Sadler, they have hung right in there with them. So this is an opportunity for all these teams to make an adjustment on their car as well. So with these cars so equal at this point in the race, who can make the best adjustment, who can do what they need to do to make the car just a little bit better, will be a huge part of who can win this race.
And let's listen into the radio for Kyle Busch. This was said just moments ago.
I was just letting them catch back up, make a race of it. Wasn't pushing that hard.
If you're the 42 of Kyle Larson, you want to listen into that and maybe make bigger adjustments than you think. And those are some of the games that veteran drivers do. I mean, Kyle Busch basically, don't show your hand. Don't keep proving to Kyle Larson he's not good enough and allowing them to keep working on their car.
But why say it?
Well,
right? I mean, if you're trying to not to show the whole field that maybe you have a little speed left, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm going to keep that to myself. Now they know they got to find a little more speed.
But if you're the crew chief, are you thinking, oh, maybe I need to figure out how to make my car faster because he's not able to run away from these guys and make adjustments when Kyle will say, nope, we don't need any adjustments. And they duck onto pit road, and they're headed towards you, Kelly.
And for Elliott Sadler in that one car, it sounded like his car actually got better and better as the run went on, but he said he needed more front grip. He's asked for a minor adjustment to help with that. He said his entry and exit were good. He was just a little bit tight rolling the center. He's going to get four fresh Goodyear tires and Sunoco fuel, Marty.
Kyle Larson just a little bit faster than Kyle Busch at the end of that run. He said, we're pretty decent here, just a little bit tight, but don't make a big adjustment to it. Daniel Suarez, however, said he's free everywhere and worse in traffic. They popped the spring rubber in the left rear and going down on the track bar as well, Dave.
No adjustments for leader Kyle Busch, and using the same crew that he uses on the Sprint Cup side, they had a phenomenal stop.
And quite a few racing off of pit road. That brought to you by Geico. Some of them happened to go into the grass. We saw the 3 of Ty Dillon go all the way into the grass. It gets 4 wide as they're trying to come out of their pit stalls. That's what happens. Welcome back to NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing from Chicagoland. Telecast presented by AutoZone. Madness taking place on pit road after pit stops. Take another look at what happened.
You can see the red car, Garrett Smithley, he's in there kind of short and out. And then the 20 of Eric Jones, he has to come out to avoid him. And when he does, he gets in the side of the 88, and the 88 gets in the side. I mean, just chaos from there. So watch right here. Really, Suarez doesn't anything wrong. He's trying to check up. He sees it coming. It's just when the 20 of Eric Jones came out trying to avoid Garrett Smithley, they just got everybody jammed up. And then Clint Boyer's not happy. Let the 20 know he wasn't happy.
Clear one. Outside, pit road speed.
Well, and Rick, we always talk about decisions. Well, Marty
All right,
Snyder
we're gonna have to
reported.
take a look at left and right front fenders.
Daniel Suarez and the 19 team decided to put a spring rod rib, extra second and a half on pit road. Think back, it's easy to say after the fact, but no big adjustment. Maybe he leaves pit road ahead of this mess.
But instead, he's right in the middle of chaos. We had mentioned Clint Boyer not happy with Eric Jones, thinking that Eric Jones was the reason behind that.
You know, I have a hard time saying that somebody was at fault.
Right.
I mean, you can't just, when they drop the jack, you can't just sit there, right? So that's just one of those tough spots where everything wrong happened at the right time.
We'll see how this restart goes. As Kyle Busch has chose the outside line, Kyle Larson will be on the inside for the restart, and the lights still going on for the pace car, meaning they'll go around at least one more time. Marty?
And Rick, remember in some of his media interviews this week, Kevin Harvick in the Sprint Cup Series chase said, expect the unexpected in the chase. Last race of the regular season for the Xfinity Series is exactly what he's talking about. Daniel Suarez with a very good car. Now they're in a little bit of trouble here. They did fix that right front fender fairly good. The left front fender was fine on Daniel Suarez's car. He told the team on the radio, I really had nowhere to go on pit road. So, and again, you mentioned it, Steve, they took that extra half second on pit road to knock that spring rubber in because the car was extremely loose. You got to wonder, would they have been in that mess in the first place had that they decided not to do that?
I mean, those are the decisions you need to make. I agree to make that decision early. Scott Graves, the crew chief for Daniel Suarez, making that call, make the big changes early when you still have laps to recover from it. You know, you mentioned Kyle Busch taking the outside, Rick. One thing that's going to be interesting to see is this is the first time he hasn't lined up against his teammate,
right,
Daniel Suarez. So we'll get a new look. We'll see if Kyle Larson in that 42 will be able to keep up with the 18. And really, it seems like sometimes it has more to do with who's on road 2.
Well, NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. You can select your in-car video or camera angle, access integrated driver stats, lap-by-lap commentary, social conversation, all in real time. You won't miss a lap when you visit NASCAR.com/drive on your personal computer now. So get ready for the restart. The 33 of Brandon Jones, who had to start in the back of this field, had too many men over the wall, so he'll serve that penalty.
And he worked himself up from 11th, having started in the back of the pack for the first as we get this restart moving.
Up through the gears they go. Kyle Busch blocking Kyle Larson. Coming all the way down the racetrack, trying to put Kyle Larson down on the apron. It doesn't work. Larson takes the lead away.
Kyle Busch got very aggressive, tried to get in front of Kyle Larson because he knew he was going to have a shove from the 1. Couldn't get in front of him, and now you see the results. The 42 is the leader as the 1 Elliott Sadler tries to get inside of Kyle Busch.
Oh, he drove that thing in the corner deep. He was so aggressive on that restart, knocked the 42 past the 18.
And Elliott Sadler with the advantage over the 18 as they go into turn 1.
You can see Elliott Sadler is confident in his race car the way he drives it in the corner, although he got a little free getting into turn 1. Saw the car bounce around a little bit, get loose, had to get him back behind the 18.
Kyle Busch in restarts have not been good. Start off this race. 3 times now we have seen him lose the lead.
And Rick, you're going to have to go back a few races before I've ever heard you say that. I mean, that's normally the 18's strong suit is the restart, but here today he just seemed to struggle to get his car into turn 1 with the right pace.
And look on this restart. Look at the 1 car. They're down on the apron. They're on the straightaway right here. The 1's just banging in the back of the 42. Got the 42 with momentum. Very aggressive by both Kyle Larson as well as Elliott Sadler.
Well, and the aggression's not just on the front. Look back here, the 88 of Clinton Boyer, the 48 of Brendan Poole. This is exactly what we saw happen in the Cup race a year ago. That is how Kevin Harvick had that flat tire, because Clinton Boyer has to get up on the racetrack. So you see he has a run of the 48. He hangs it left, has every right to do it. That's raceable down there, but now he has to get on the racetrack, and the 48 only wanted to give him one car width. The Clinton Boyer was trying to take two.
And the 48 on pit road now to make sure that they don't have a tire going down, Mike.
And Rick, it's either a tire going down or a loose wheel. Not sure yet. We'll check on that for sure. It's a flat tire, I was told. They're going to change all four because they don't know exactly which one went down. But obviously, this is not what Brendan Poole was hoping for in this particular situation. A very slow stop as well, just over 20 seconds.
And Rick, all this chaos, this was supposed to be a fun race for the Xfinity regulars. These drivers like Brendan Poole, he's in the chase. This might be a precursor to tomorrow. Hopefully some of those Sprint Cup drivers are watching.
You go back and you think about Clint Boyer, how aggressive he was in that restart. He has been driving a car in the Cup Series. It just hasn't been competitive this year, hadn't had a chance to win. And he has a car now driving for Junior Motorsports that may have a chance to win. So you're going to see him be very aggressive here. Brendan Poole trying to get up to speed, trying to get on the racetrack without going another lap down.
And you could just see how helpless it is as cars go by him on the racetrack. It just, it takes time to get this car kind of wound up, come up with some energy, and you'll see instantly how good these new tires are. It doesn't take long to catch up, but like you said, Jeff, now sitting in all the way back in the 35th position.
Yeah, he has scored a lap down. Paul Menard right now is in the free pass position at one lap down, running 33rd. There are 32 on the lead lap, and it's Kyle Larson who's out in front of the field. Kyle Larson has made the chase in the Sprint Cup Series for the first time in his career after a big win at Michigan. And now Kyle Busch fighting to get back to the front, running second.
I think it's worth pointing out when you look at the running order, Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, they are leading 1-2 Sprint Cup regulars, but then, we have other Sprint Cup cars or drivers in the field. Joe Logano, Clint Boyer, they're back in 7th and 8th. We see some Xfinity regulars, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, Ty Dillon, Eric Jones, having good runs up inside the top 5.
And we talked to Ty Dillon before the race started, and he talked about how important this kind of racetrack is for the chase. And, those guys running well here is a good sign for them moving into the chase because there's so many mile and a halves in that 8-race segment.
How much are the tires falling off as we're seeing guys running different lines around this track?
Well, surprisingly, there's some speed fall off, but not as much as you would expect on an older pavement racetrack. When we go to Texas, Homestead, we see a lot of fall off. This Goodyear tire that was brought here this weekend seems to have decent grip, but it also holds on pretty long. I was laughing, the 42. I haven't seen him run the bottom of 3 and 4 yet. And when the 18 caught him, he went right to the bottom, committed to the top of 1 and 2, and you see right there why it works. You see the energy, the speed he carries off the top.
Well, it's going to be very hard for the 18 to get by the 42. As you mentioned, he goes back to the bottom of the racetrack, but Kyle Larson is so good at running the top of the racetrack. The 18's got a pretty good run right here. We'll see if he can make a move, but Kyle Larson, we've seen him in the middle of 1 and 2 go to the top of the racetrack as 18 makes a move.
He tries to side draft him and pull that 42 back. You saw the 42 give him the bottom of the racetrack. 42 is going to try to cross him over here off turn 2.
With the momentum and a run, 42 coming back down the backstretch. He'll try to move to the inside and take that spot back away.
See him drive in the corner deeper on the bottom than the 18 can on the outside, but right here, he cleared him. It's going to be tight.
It was the slide move for the 42. He took the lead, but then right away the 18 crosses back over, takes the lead back.
And Kyle swings hard to the right there because he wanted to get to the top of the racetrack. He knows the 42 wants the top in 1 and 2, so he took it away on corner entry.
Did you see how loose Kyle Larson got when he turned to try to go underneath the 18 of Kyle? He got exceptionally loose getting into turn 1.
Now, was that early on with Kyle Larson trying to take Kyle Busch's line away, run where Kyle Busch runs so that he doesn't have clean air? When he ran to the bottom of the racetrack?
Yeah, I don't know why he ran to the bottom of the racetrack. With as good as he is on the top of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, he must just feel like his car didn't handle well up there. I was really surprised when the 18 got to him that he went to the bottom of the racetrack, but he must have gone there because he felt like his car wasn't good enough on the top.
Eric Jones by the 3 of Ty Dillon. Eric Jones running 5th.
And if you're Ty Dillon right here, this has to be a good feeling. Eric Jones with 3 wins on the season. He's really the talk of this upcoming chase. Everybody thinks he's the favorite. I mentioned at the top of the show, he was my favorite. Currently getting outrun, though, by 2 Junior Motorsports Chevrolets and a Richard Childress Chevrolet right off his rear bumper.
Out front, it's Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson, and Elliott Sadler. Justin Allgaier and Eric Jones, the top 5. Monday and Tuesday, the voice is back. New coaches Miley Cyrus, Alicia Keys joining Adam and Blake, and that changes everything, of course. Emmy-nominated The Voice premieres Monday and Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central on NBC, one of my favorite shows.
Oh, yeah, my wife and I love that show. It's amazing how much talent those singers have. They start singing, and it's beautiful voices.
Absolutely, and obviously the coaches helping out very much as they continue to grow. And one driver trying to stay up in that top 5, the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Kelly?
And what a weekend it is for Justin Allgaier. Not only is this his 200th career start in the Xfinity Series, it's a hometown race for him and a hometown race for his sponsor, Brandt. In fact, Brandt has about 600 people here. When I talked to Justin about it, he said, I'm actually pretty glad this race is not in the chase with all this going on. He said it's not that it's been distracting, but certainly it's brought a lot of attention to us. But you can imagine, he's won here in Chicago once before. If he did it again, it would be one heck of a party celebration tonight. Right now, though, Justin Allgaier battling a tight race car, Dave.
Clint Boyer has had contact on pit road and then contact on the restart. Check out the right front fender of the 88. If that gets pushed in just enough, it can really cause damage to that tire, cause it to blow out and send Clint into the wall. But they made his car so much better handling-wise on that pit stop, he didn't want to bring it in. And after the smoke sort of cleared, he decided to stay out. The team's still evaluating how quickly they might need to bring Clint in. Marty?
Dave, when I talked to Greg Irwin, crew chief for Joey Logano earlier this week, he said we kind of hit a reset button this weekend on how we approach the mile-and-a-half track, kind of coming with a different mentality like we did last year while we're evaluating what's going on with the 22 team. Right now, the evaluation is car too tight, especially in 1 and 2. That's where Joey lost the spot a moment ago on this run right now, struggling in 1 and 2. In 3 and 4, he said, he's a little bit free, so handling differently on different ends of the corner, different ends of the track, Mike.
Marty, it has certainly been an eventful day for Brandon Jones, and it began in qualifying when he scrubbed the wall on his very first lap. Because of that, he didn't get a qualifying lap in, had to start at the tail end of the field. Had such a good race car, though, at the drop of the green, he made his way all the way up inside the top 20, and then was hit with a penalty on pit road after he overshot his box and had an extra man go over the wall to help push him back. Yet, he's still rallying toward the front, showing that he does have speed. This is exactly what the team wants to do right now. They want to go into the chase with some momentum. Crew Chief Mike Hillman told me this week, he said, we are giving it everything we have to see exactly how much speed we'll have once we get to the playoffs, when it really counts, Rick.
When we get to the playoffs, which the chase begins in Kentucky, the very next race for the Xfinity Series.
Well, Rick, we mentioned the 33 right there. Mike was mentioning how good of a recovery he has. Well, Daniel Suarez, we documented under the pit stops, he had damage, had to come to pit road again to fix the fenders. Well, he's moved up 16 positions since the restart, all the way into the 9th position.
I love this camera shot riding along. You see how quickly they catch these slower cars and have to make a decision which line you want to go in, the top or the bottom. You hope those slower cars pick a line and stay in that line. Look at the speed.
Yeah, look at the brand signs on the side, how fast it's going by.
180 miles an hour into turn 3. That's the slower end of the racetrack.
And guys, we talked about the recovery for Daniel Suarez with a host of problems still on that 19 car. He's reported a vibration, then he said something feels like it's wrong with the rear end of the car. It's tight and it's loose in different ends of the racetrack, but now he says car just simply too free. The vibration seemingly gone away for Daniel Suarez, who continues to make progress despite that damage that he got on pit road a little bit earlier.
It might seem silly, but sometimes when you have aero damage, it can just flutter in the wind. You know, like when you're riding down the interstate, you only open one window, the front window, and you start to get that pulse in your head. Well, that's just purely aerodynamics. Well, the same thing can happen to a race car. If that fender breaks loose, it can move and shudder in the wind and actually feel like a full vibration, like there's something wrong with the engine or the driveline.
Daniel Suarez, again, after the issue on pit road, has rebounded, currently in the top 10, running 9th. Trying to close the gap between he and Joey Logano. We're riding along with Joey Logano, looking back on Daniel Suarez.
Yeah, Joey Logano, I know 8th isn't a bad position, but this 22 Penske cars, but you know, we've mentioned it's yet to win a race, and he doesn't come down from the Sprint Cup Series to run 8th. His goal is to be up front, running with Kyle Busch, running with Kyle Larson, but we just haven't seen it out of this car yet this year.
Yeah, they talked about early in the year, they tried to change their program to make it so that it's more like the Cup cars. They're going to have to reverse that. They're going to have to treat these cars as if they're Xfinity cars and focus on the Xfinity Series, because they're just not, when you don't run well, you don't learn anything. And, you know, they're not able, even though the cars are the same, they're not able to take the information they were hoping to take out of it.
One company that has found speed over the course of the years, Junior Motorsports. We see the one of Elliott Sadler right here running in the 3rd position. Justin Allgaier right behind him in the 4th position. You know, this is Junior Motorsports, so I know while it's not named the same, you know, it has a tie to Hendrick Motorsports. The 3 crew chiefs at Junior Motorsports were all once Hendrick Motorsports, either engineers or car chiefs. There's a lot of ties to try to find that speed, and they're showing good speed. And how about the full-time Xfinity drivers? Running currently 3rd through 6th.
What a season it has been for Elliott Sadler, finishing the top 10 22 times already this season. That ties his career best, having run this many races. Well, he's been debating with his crew chief, Kevin Mendering, whether or not to go back on some changes they made down pit road last time. He said a little wedge adjustment they made has kind of hurt his entry and exit, but then he thought maybe the car was coming to him. Now he's saying, yeah, maybe we need to go back. So they're kind of on debate mode what to do next time they come down pit road.
Elliott Sadler currently running 3rd. The 41-year-old out of Emporia, Virginia. 2 wins already this season. We continue to watch Xfinity Series racing. let's check out the Toyota Camry on-track car, Jeff.
Yeah, we saw the car early in the race. Paul Menard had trouble with the valve stem on his car getting touched by another car. Look how close it is to the outside of the wheel. So if you can imagine two cars getting together, it grabs that valve stem, pulls it out of the wheel, all the air immediately comes out of it. So a danger spot. We've seen, you mentioned Steve, seen pit crew members hit them. You've seen lug nuts hit them and break off, but contact side to side with cars can knock them out as well.
And you actually saw two valve stems because there's one for the tire and one for the inner liner. The pressures are set separately.
Inner liner on tracks over a mile because of the speeds that they're able to gain. So they have a backup if the tire does blow. They have another inner liner that the cars, for safety matters, are supposed to be able to hopefully keep them off the wall a little bit better. As we watch Kyle Busch continue to work around the slower traffic, Kyle Busch now with a 0.7 of a second lead over Kyle Larson. Dave.
Rick, looking back to the 39 of Ryan Sieg right there, doing what he needs to do right now to make it into the inaugural Xfinity Chase. When talking about it this week and the pressure around this weekend, he said, I really haven't thought that much about it to the worried point. I'm really not worried about it at all. I've slept fine. We just need to run like we have been on these mile-and-a-half tracks. And so far today, that's exactly what they're doing. Kelly?
Well, for Blake Koch in the 11 car, he came into this race with a 23-point cushion to get into the chase. He's extended that now to 28 points, but he says this race has a ton of pressure for him. He said, but if we make the chase, we've already achieved our goal. Then we can go out and have fun. So he said, this race in Chicago kind of feels like the last race of the year, and then the rest will just be icing on the cake. Well, right now he said his car is just a little bit too free on entry, which carries through the center. He had a vibration early in this race, but a new set of tires seems to have cured that issue.
New set of tires cures most issues, doesn't it, driver?
Well, they do, but Kyle Busch has an issue right here with traffic because right behind him is that 42 of Kyle Larson, and he is closing quickly.
That's the 33 of Brandon Jones we talked about. Going to get blocked in by that slower car. And remember, he shouldn't be in this position. They had a problem on pit road. He made a mistake in qualifying. They got themselves in this hole because of all that. Now they're getting lapped.
Kyle Larson goes all the way down to the apron to pass that 33 of Brandon Jones.
And remember, we normally see Kyle Busch when he has a car like this just stretch a lead over the field. These two currently have a lead of over 4.5 seconds back to Elliott Sadler, but Kyle Busch and Kyle Larson, they're going to be racing for a Sprint Cup championship starting tomorrow in their Sprint Cup cars. So I think this is a little precursor to see. Kyle Larson has been good at this racetrack before, running the top, not letting Kyle Busch get away in the Xfinity race.
And Steve, in the last 7 laps, that 42 car of Kyle Larson's cut almost a half second off that lead from Kyle Busch. Much better here at the end of the run. In fact, they said we're really good through 1 and 2. He said the car's just a little bit free. I need to be just a little bit tighter to catch that 18. I was talking to his team, and they said, hey, we brought a new car this weekend. You know what happened the last time we did that? It was Pocono. We won, expecting the same results here today. But first, they got to catch that 18 car and make it better on the next set of stops coming up rather quickly, guys.
And that'll be the test that a lot of teams will have to go through, is not making mistakes on pit road. We already saw it when guys coming off of pit road got into each other.
Well, and we saw it in practice with some of the Sprint Cup regulars trying to practice getting on pit road. We saw the 88 of Alex Bowman spin out. Jeff, you've mentioned how difficult the entry to this pit road is, and seems to be running the top. Does that hurt your rhythm? Does it make it even more difficult to run the bottom and try to get on pit road?
It does make it more difficult. And remember, Kyle Larson leading the race at Darlington a few weeks ago spun out trying to get on pit road. So he's going to have to not make that mistake again.
Green flag pit stops coming up. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing, telecast presented by AutoZone. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. And by AutoZone. Hoods up, America. AutoZone has everything you need to get in the zone. AutoZone. Out front, Kyle Busch has about a 0.6 of a second lead over Kyle Larson. And Kyle Busch now running the Larson line around the racetrack, which is right up against the wall.
Watch these two guys. They have it figured out. They know exactly what they're doing. Watch how much racetrack they use on corner entry. They're right against the wall on corner entry. They give a little bit of space. Then they get right against the wall. They just carry that momentum all the way around the corner. They use the same radius of the corner as the wall. And rather than trying to turn the car down, trying to drive in low and then drive up to the wall, they use all the racetrack.
Things heating up for a third between Elliott Sadler and Justin Allgaier. Sadler in the 1, Allgaier in the 7, and it looks as though pit stops happening. The 18 and the 42 have decided to both come to pit road at the same time. Party.
Rick, Kyle Larson told Mike Schiff what he said, we're really good here at the end of the run. If you can help me at the beginning of the run, that's from just 2 free. So what they're going to do is make an air pressure adjustment, trying to tighten it up and help him at that first part of the run. That's where he feels like he's losing time to the 18, Dave.
And Kyle Busch feels like from the center of the corner to the exit of the corner, his car is just a little bit difficult to turn. So the Goodyear tires that they put on it already have an air pressure adjustment in them. He'll get a full load of Sunoco fuel here, Kelly.
Ty Dillon in the 3 said that the track is getting loose in 3 and 4, but he said his entry and exit 1 and 2 are fine. They're going to help tighten him up a little bit with an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires than fuel for the 3, Marty.
Kelly Daniel Suarez said the car is, quote, tight landing and then 2 free on exit to make an air pressure adjustment. Also a wedge adjustment taking a long time on that left front for that 19 team, costing them some time on pit road, Kelly.
Elliott Sadler pits from the 3rd position. You see the chassis adjustment. He said that he was free in and off, a little bit too snug through the center, 4 tires and fuel. Right next door to him is Justin Allgaier, who's been battling a tight race car throughout the early stages of this race, 4 tires as well, and a chassis adjustment for the 7.
How difficult is that? 2 guys that were racing on the track for position, now racing off of pit road, the 1 and the 7, Allgaier and Elliott Sadler. And as they're cycling through the green flag pit stops, Allgaier was scored as the race leader. Marty.
And Rick, Jeremy Clements, one of those drivers hoping to make it into the chase today. You see the track bar adjustment with the car too loose, and caution, Ryan Reed, Rick.
Ryan Reed doesn't make it to pit road. We had mentioned that was going to be an issue. Guys trying to get to pit road under green flag conditions, it's very difficult to get onto this pit road.
The reason it's difficult is because the commitment cone is so hard to see. You cannot see that commitment cone until you're almost all the way off of turn 4 approaching pit road. When you're in the middle of the corner, you can't see the commitment cone. So you keep thinking you're going to see it, and you keep trying to carry speed. You see it, and now it's too late to get slowed down. So you see the 16 of Ryan Reed. So on the racetrack, trying to get slowed down. He sees it now, maybe a little bit too much rear brake, tries to get on the brakes too hard to slow down to try to make that commitment cone, spins the car out.
And right by him goes the 18 of Kyle Busch as he's spinning to get onto pit road. So the 3rd caution of the afternoon has come out. There have been 11 lead changes between 6 different drivers, that all taking place for the most part under these green flag pit stop conditions. Kyle Busch has been out front for 65 laps. We're questioning, though, getting onto pit road. Kyle Busch goes to the left of the 97 of Jordan Anderson. You're not allowed to pass to the left getting into your pit stall until you're 3 boxes away.
The way we understand the rule is that you can turn left approaching your pit box to get to your pit box, but this happens so early on pit road, you can pass to the left leaving, but you're not supposed to pass to the left coming on to pit road. So NASCAR's got an interesting call here.
Yeah, and the 97, he's not for position and running what seems to be much slower than pit road speed, but the rule. How is the rule enforced? Is the rule enforced under caution when you're coming in, for lead lap cars? And really, this has been a point ever since Kentucky, the 78 really dominating this race currently, and he has a pit road speed timeline he tries to use. He goes to the left, accelerates, passes the 4 of Kevin Harvick. NASCAR says basically the rule you called out. You can't pass to the left on pit road entry, so they penalized the 78.
And they will be looking at that 18 and what he just did on pit road under the green flag pit stops. The 16 of Ryan Reed, once again bringing out the caution. There were 11 cars on the lead lap when the caution came out. As they have cycled through with the pit stops right now, Kyle Busch being shown as the race leader. Welcome back to NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing from Chicagoland. Telecast presented by AutoZone. It went away talking about Kyle Busch and the pass on the left. It was the 97 of Jordan Anderson who was actually coming out of his pit stop and back onto pit road and exiting as Kyle Busch was coming in. And so NASCAR said that because they were not coming in at the same time and Kyle passed him, as Jordan was leaving pit road, Kyle was coming on, there is no penalty.
A lot of questions tomorrow on the driver's meet.
I was going to say, I'll be the first to say, I thought I understood the rule clearly after the 78. I thought it was no passing to the left. That looked like passing to the left, but NASCAR disagrees. They think because the 97 had already pitted. So I agree. I think there's going to be a lot of chase drivers asking questions in the driver's meet, and that's what happens with rules. They have to be, try to be defined on how they're going to be enforced and what exceptions there are to the rule.
A few guys coming in to top off before the restart. We'll be back for the restart at Chicagoland after this. beautiful views of Chicagoland Speedway. Aerial coverage is provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. As the field works their way around the mile-and-a-half, let's listen in to Brendan Gaughan and his radio after being called for speeding on pit road.
We got a speed penalty on pit lane.
I did?
That's what they said.
I mean, I don't doubt it. I just don't believe it. I was conservative that run.
Not conservative enough, apparently.
Well, no, in NASCAR, remember, they've added a lot of timing lines at all these different racetracks, and we've seen consistently the speeding penalties go up with the smaller loops.
Kyle Busch, Kyle Larson once again making up the front row. Busch on the outside, Larson on the inside. Green flag back in the air. This time assistance from Elliott Sadler on that high line. Looks as though it will propel the 18 out front easily.
Sadler still trying to work that outside, trying to get on the right rear quarter.
And the caution out quickly.
Back her down, wave him off, he's inside, you watch the fluid into 3.
Yeah, the 15 just came onto pit road and into the garage area, and definitely some fluid coming from underneath that car. That's Travis Quapple that will take that into the garage. And so all of the officials noticed that line. Quapple was down on the apron. So hopefully before a lot of that fluid came out of the car, he was already down low enough that he was not in any of the racing grooves. Free pass is going to go to the 44 of J.J. Yaley. The last one went to the 33 of Brandon Jones. And with more on Ryan Sieg, let's go to Dave.
The last time he came down pit road under green, he was too fast entering. He was at 4,000 RPM by his tachometer. He's going to back it down to 3,900 the next time he has to come down at speed. He's going to come down again here to top off again on fuel, which will give him just one more stop till the end of this race. Here's the big thing. By going to the back of the line here, as they run, he's lost about half of his points gap to Jeremy Clements and Dakota Armstrong, who both run in front of him now. We'll see how it plays here. They don't award points until the end of the race, but at this point, Sieg got him back in a little bit more tenuous position.
Yeah, just 14 points separating the two now. Ryan Sieg in 12th and Dakota Armstrong in 13th, but 14 points separate the two.
I think I backed that RPM down to about 3,600 for what Ryan Sieg is trying to do. He's run all year long to give himself this position. You see the chase bubble up in the top left of your screen, still 14 to the good, but you want to try to limit those mistakes, not give Dakota Armstrong an opportunity to gain enough points to pass you.
We talked a lot today about Brandon Jones and all the trouble that he's had. Remember, you mentioned he got the free pass, the caution before. That still means when you get that free pass, you have to start at the tail end of the longest line. Now he gets to pull all the way back up, and there's only 12 cars in the lead lap, so he will restart in 12th position as opposed to being in 12th, restarting in about 35th position. So these cautions, a big benefit to that team.
And again, the last time everyone was on pit road, the 62 got a speeding penalty, and we heard about that from Brendan Gaughan. Take a look at the comparison on pit road. Last year there was only 8 speed sections. This year there's 14 speed sections. The longest section is 128 feet. A year ago it was 251 feet that separated those lines.
So Rick, just to be clear, this is how NASCAR calculates the speed. They don't use a radar gun like they use in the interstate. It's basically, time over distance. So there's these loops, and what NASCAR used to have on pit road in 2015, you see, a handful of red lines. Those are loops cut in there. They're electronic. They know when a car has passed over it, and they calculate how much time to the next line. So what NASCAR has done is they've come in and added loops. You see how many red lines there are now. They've done this to try to make more equal pit boxes on pit road, not to have drivers accelerating and trying to use these timelines. So it's a simple calculation, but the issue is the smaller those loops are, the give and take is kind of gone. If you make a mistake and you get a little too fast for a section, you don't have as much distance to give the speed back.
And the drivers have been trained when they turn to get into their pit box, they accelerate a little bit. When they're leaving their pit box, they accelerate as hard as they can. Where before they had this big timing zone to leave when they left their pit box, now they have these little short ones. So it's very difficult to get the timing correct. So when you leave your pit box, you don't exceed that pit road speed. Much more difficult with more timing loops.
Brennan Poole, riding along with him as he continues to work his way around the track, running in the 17th spot, but a lap down. Joey Logano still searching for a win in the 22. Now, he's already got a win in the 12, but the 22 for Penske has not won in the Xfinity Series in 2016. Welcome back. A few pit stops taking place. Let's go to Kelly.
And Justin Allgaier's making his way down pit road. It's going to be a fuel-only stop for the 7th, so the team reminding him not to slide his tires. He lost a couple of spots on that restart, so they're just going to top him off here, Marty.
Kelly, good move for these cars towards the tail end of the lead lap. Gets them closer to one more stop today. They're going to check the lug nuts on the right front for Joey Logano. Also, they still think they have a hole in the nose from that contact earlier. They're going to put a piece of tape on that, Dave.
Clint Boyer came in for just a splash of Sunoco fuel to top it off. They can make it on one more stop from here.
Trying the fuel mileage strategy. Only one more stop for a few of the cars. Sunday Night Football, Aaron Rodgers going up against Adrian Peterson. Packers and the Vikings. Dan Patrick, Mike Tirico hosting Sunday Night Football.
That's in Minnesota's new stadium, right?
U.S. Bank Stadium, yep, absolutely. Take another look at the 39, Ryan Sieg, struggling to stay right there in that 12th spot and then having issues on pit road.
You see he rolls in a little too far. That's over the front line. You can't service your car there. That's a one-lap penalty. They push the 39 back. Poor Ryan Sieg, for wanting an uneventful day, is having a little more excitement than they're looking for.
Just 16 points separating 12th and 13th. Elliott Sadler now on the front row. He'll be on the inside of Kyle Busch as they get ready to enter the restart zone.
Eric Jones in the 20 got that time really good this time on the high line. Gave the 18 a push. We'll see if the 42 and the 1 can get organized in the bottom lane.
Pretty good run for the front row as Elliott Sadler now drops back and fighting for the second spot. Eric Jones using that high line, trying to take advantage of momentum, but here comes the one of Elliott Sadler again on the bottom.
Second time he's been able to outdrive everybody getting into turn 3 and clear the guy on the outside. He must have a tremendous amount of security with that car on corner entry.
Pretty close call there for the 42, Kyle Larson, as he was working his way up the track, and it was Daniel Suarez that was right there in front of him. And those two stay fairly close, and it looks as though Larson may have gotten to the wall.
He definitely got into the wall. He got into the throttle and lost the race, just lost the car, had to trace it up the racetrack, and he did get in the wall. Talk about how aggressive Kyle Larson is. That's a good example.
And on that restart, NASCAR did come over the radio and warn the one team to stay even with Kyle Busch. He was back about a half a car length for the restart, but they let him know you have to stay even with that lead car. Joe Logano looking ahead to the 42. Kyle Larson doesn't look like a lot of damage to the right rear after brushing the wall.
Doesn't look like a lot of damage. The 42 just looks so loose. He doesn't look like he can really commit to the throttle or the steering wheel, and it makes it a little bit easier. You see right here, he slides up in front of the 19 a couple laps ago and just looks like makes contact for sure with the outside wall.
Yeah, another vantage point here.
That right rear quarter panel is so sensitive to drive ability with the race car. If you get that right rear quarter panel bent the wrong way, it's very difficult. It doesn't make as much side force. The car does not drive anywhere near as good.
This is what NASCAR was warning the one of Elliott Sadler, that he needed to stay up with the race leader as they were entering the restart zone.
They just want them door to door. They don't want anybody lagging back.
And guys, Kyle Larson has said, yes, something is wrong. His spotter said you might have a right rear going down. He said something definitely wrong in that 42 car. You see his teammate Brennan Poole going by him right now. He said the car, he said in a surprising voice, is tight on this run. Remember, he asked the car to be tightened up on the short run. That's where they felt like they were deficit to the 18, but right now, maybe a right rear going down for the 42, staying out so far to make sure that's the case.
Jeff, is this the MO of the 42 of Kyle Larson, an aggressive driver and then maybe stepping over the line just a bit?
Oh, it's tight.
And that time, the 16 of Ryan Reed coming across the nose of the 42 and pretty hard into the wall of the 16.
That wreck took about 3 seconds to happen. The 16 of Ryan Reed had...
You're going to be coming through here, coming inside.
And the caution does come out now.
Distract you, P. We need to get the pit road.
The 16 had Larson on the outside of him, and Larson wasn't going to give the spot up, and the 16 just kept coming up the racetrack, and Larson didn't want to live. So right here you can see they're pretty high up the racetrack. Larson against the wall, can't go any higher. The 16 car keeps pushing him up, ends up getting in the wall. That's a spot where either one of them could have prevented that wreck. They have a throttle in there. Left and got into the right rear quarter panel.
Yeah, this is the 42 coming off the wall.
looked like he got loose.
Yep.
If you watched it from that view, it looked like the 42 got loose, and when he got loose, that shoved the left front. The whole front of the car went down and got into the side of the 16 of Ryan Reed. But that's two cars running side by side. Aerodynamically, they're not anywhere near as good as when they're by themselves. Mike.
Yeah, guys, the 16 on pit road. They're assessing the damage. They're doing their best they can to try to repair it here on pit road, but there has been some conversation about pulling it back behind the wall and going to the garage. The damage looks just too extensive, I should say, here on the front end of the race car, especially on the right side. Team going to work, but it is pretty severe. The window net already down for Ryan Reed as he anticipates going to the garage.
Give him the lane up there, man.
Yeah, I think that's Ryan Reed saying that he felt that he had given the lane to Kyle Larson. And at first we thought the 16 had come up. Then that other angle looking down the backstretch, it looks like, it's that curved backstretch wall. It's hard to get a good reference. Looks like the 42, I don't know if it gets tight and the thing comes back, finally catches and gets a little loose. But it definitely looked like it moved to the left. But now it's decision time. The last caution, we saw a couple cars come down pit road. We saw the 88 of Clint Boyer, the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Now the leaders are going to have to decide when pit road opens what they want to do. Are they willing to continue to stay out and risk having to pit under green, or is now the time to make their second pit stop of the day?
Before those decisions are made, let's listen into the 42 radio after what just happened on the track.
I don't know what was up there. He ran into me off 4, tried to run into me off 2.
So Kyle, thinking that the 16 was coming into him when he was going through 1 and 2.
You can see the 16 was on the bottom of the racetrack, started up the racetrack. Kyle Larson was there. Kyle slowed down to make sure they didn't get together, and then they made contact off of turn 2. So initially, Kyle looked like to me he slowed down to try to prevent that contact with Ryan Reed coming up the racetrack. But then later off the corner, we clearly saw the 42 get into the side of the 16, but I saw the back of the car move around first. I don't think that Kyle Larson just turned left and intentionally hooked him. The back of the car came around, looked like, as you said, Steve, either got tight and then ended up getting loose, but nonetheless, he got in the right rear quarter panel.
And they just passed the halfway point. 103 laps complete of the 200 scheduled for this 300-mile race. Kyle Busch has been out front for 85 of the 103 laps. Kyle Larson led 9, Daniel Suarez 5. So they continue to work on the cleanup after, once again, the 16 was up into the wall, and that has now opened pit road. And here comes Kyle Busch, Elliott Sadler, and the lead lap cars. Kelly?
And you see the one car of Elliott Sadler. He had been saving fuel. It sounded like he was going to stay out, but he's really happy with the change that they made last time down pit road. Said he has a lot more rear grip, still just a little bit snug on throttle, a little bit snug in the center. Marty?
Kelly, this now gets everybody in a window where they can make it on one more stop. Daniel Suarez as far back as 31st today. So the car is now a little bit free on entry, tight center on exit. That's what they're going to try and fix with air pressure, Dave.
Third place, Eric Jones said his car is so tight on restarts, he'll get an adjustment for that. 4 Goodyear tires, Sunoco fuel. Leader Kyle Busch, 4 tires and fuel as well. He will not be the first one off pit road.
No, it's Elliott Sadler, 2-tire stop. Ryan Preece gained 9 spots by not changing tires. welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway. As Xfinity Series racing from Chicagoland continues, presented by AutoZone. Up front, Joey Logano decided to stay out under the most recent pit stops, and so Logano has chosen the outside line. Elliott Sadler on the inside. Elliott Sadler with a great restart that time, trying to stay even with Logano as Kyle Busch was behind Logano on the restart, and those two working together have moved out to first and second.
And look at Kyle Larson about 4 rows back. He ran right around the top of 1 and 2, had a bunch of momentum. He's going to climb the banking again at 3 and 4 to try to get to the outside of the 88.
NASCAR's taking another look at the restart. It is under review.
Pretty wide into turn 1. It's hard for the 20 car, Rick Jones, to make that work. When you enter the corner that shallow, it's hard to get the car to turn the way you need it to.
Daniel Suarez was in the middle. And Suarez now trying to battle with Elliott Sadler for position. Eric Jones is going to follow him.
Jeff, we were a little surprised to see all of these cars come to pit road. We thought the 7, the 88, a few cars that pitted about 10 laps ago, they were going to stay out. Then while they didn't change tires 10 laps ago, they put fuel in. We thought that was going to be their strategy, but they chose not to.
Yeah, the only one that did was the leader, the 22 of Logano. He did stick with that strategy, and he did stay out. But all the other guys kind of bailed out on the strategy and pitted with the leaders.
3 of Ty Dillon making the move around 7 of Justin Allgaier as the lead heating up now. Here comes Kyle Busch looking to the inside of Joey Logano. Side by side at the line, and it's Kyle Busch now out front again. Logano had been running consistently in the top 10, but really struggling to get past 6th or 7th on the racetrack, trying a little bit of pit strategy or not coming to pit road to get the lead, clean air, but now he's dropped back to second and will have his hands full with the 19 of Daniel Suarez has closed the gap.
And what a recovery by Daniel Suarez. Had that accident on pit road early in the race, had to pit a second time to repair the fenders, has rallied back to battle the 22 for the second position.
So as that fight for second continues, let's go into the garage and Mike Massaro.
During our commercial break, Rick, Ryan Reed was able to look at the replay of what transpired on the racetrack. When you saw the replay, what'd you think?
I thought it was really tight. Even right there, it was hard to see. It looked like he came off the wall a little bit and tagged me, but it was tight racing. And looking back, I should have just lifted, bailed out of there. He was on my door, pretty tight. He got me aero tight coming out of 2 there. And so, he probably could have gave me the spot. He was probably a little upset. He had gotten to the wall earlier and was sliding backwards, and he didn't want to give me the room. So I understand his frustration, but, it sucks. We tore up a race car on lap 100, felt like we had the spot or almost had him cleared there. And, yeah, he looks like he came off the wall and tagged me and just kind of had enough. So part of the deal. But we'll move on to Kentucky. We got the chase to focus on. I'll watch the end of this race on my Xfinity X1 app and see if there's not something I can learn before Kentucky. And I think we still have some good momentum headed into the chase. We're locked in, so thankfully we're locked in because it could have been a little worse.
Thank you. Short day for Ryan Reed. He had been running inside the top 15, but it'll come to a conclusion in the garage, guys.
Yeah, another caution coming out. This time it's fluid in turn 2 that has brought the caution out. And so field will stack back up again behind the Toyota Camry pace car. And they'll go 2 by 2 once again for the restart. That time it was the 22 of Joey Logano who chose the outside line and was able to make it work. But then the 18 of Kyle Busch, a little bit stronger, fresher tires, was able to get by. Brendan Gaughan in the 62 will get the free pass. The last restart that was under review by NASCAR was deemed good. Working on a little bit of fluid down in the lower groove in turns 1 and 2. And so as they clean that up, we'll take a quick break and be back for the restart here at Chicagoland. next Saturday night on NBCSN. The first race of the Xfinity Series chase will be at Kentucky Speedway. That coverage beginning at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And we want to take a look at this week's Ford Drive to the Championship chase standings before the chase gets underway. Eric Jones, Elliott Sadler, Daniel Suarez, all with wins. They will receive bonus points as the points will be reset before that race in Kentucky, the first race of the Xfinity Series chase. Right now the battle's still on for the 12th spot. Blake Cook 25 points in front of Dakota Armstrong. Ty Dillon and the 3 running 7th today in this Xfinity Series race. And big news coming out of RCR, especially regarding the Xfinity Series. On NBCSN earlier today, right after qualifying, Richard Childress came on and made the announcement that Daniel Hemrick would be running full-time in the Xfinity Series in 2017. So the Kannapolis, North Carolina native, the 25-year-old who's grown up with the Dillon boys, both Austin and Ty racing them, will now race for Richard Childress.
And a really good racer. Does won a lot of short tracks around the Southeast. A really good racer. He's made the chase in the Truck Series this year, so getting a lot of experience in the chase in the Truck Series. Moving into the Xfinity Series would be a really good move for him and RCR. They're bringing more young talent into RCR. That's always good.
Yeah, and good for the series. Richard Childress Racing, a prominent owner, committing to the Xfinity Series. As you mentioned, Jeff, just keep promoting young talent.
Dave, what's going on with the 39 team?
He pitted right here, and Mike Ford, who is not the crew chief, calls himself a consultant, explained it this way.
I hate to call a race this way, but I think the safe thing to do is get tires and fuel. Otherwise, we'll have about a 15-lap window possibility where it would be 15 laps having short pits. So I think the safe thing to do in this situation is go ahead and pit.
Have to pit one more time. They have a set of sticker tires remaining and, of course, plenty of fuel.
And a 19-point lead for Ryan Sieg as you see the rows as we get ready for the restart. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano once again making up row 1. Kyle Busch has chosen the outside line. Joey Logano on the inside. Green flag back in the air.
Once again, that outside line with the 20 of Eric Jones, a really good job of timing and getting into the back of the 18, giving him a big push, but a good 19 pushing the 22.
How about a run for the 3 of Ty Dillon? He moves to the inside and is trying to gain 2 positions, maybe even 3 on this restart as he looks to the inside of the 19. So trying to get by Daniel Suarez as well. Ty Dillon with a great restart.
And Kyle Larson back there just trying to find a place where no one else is. Jumps up on the outside, making it 3 wide.
Momentum running for the 42 up high. Kyle Busch out front. Eric Jones, Elliott Sadler, Joey Logano, Kyle Larson, the top 5.
We know the 42 has been good on the top on older tires, but it's surprising that he can make that top lane work here on fresh tires on a restart, and he almost gets into the wall again off turn 2.
How about the 22 falling back, though? After starting on that front row, Eric Jones and Elliott Sadler both able to get by. Now, the 42 of, and again, a wiggle there. 42 of Kyle Larson was able to get by. Now, Daniel Suarez.
So this is the struggle with that pit strategy. The 22 stayed out, so he has a few more laps on his tires. That's going to hurt him when he tries to race against these other leaders.
I'm pretty sure he thought more people were going to stay out with him. He was the only one that pitted early and did not stick with that strategy, so that did not create any separation. But him and the guys that had the new tires.
Clint Boyer goes by in the 88. Here comes Justin Allgaier in the 7. Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer, Joey Logano, all in the top 10. Take a look, a little rubbing there.
Yeah, that was close. You get the 22 was coming up the racetrack, and Joey Logano and Suarez was there. They made contact. When you get in the back of somebody in the right rear quarter panel, sometimes that can not work out very well, as we saw off turn 2 a little while ago. So those two found a way to work it out there.
The gap between Kyle Busch and Eric Jones, about 0.8 of a second for the lead. As you see once again, 22 and the 19 pretty close to each other.
Yeah, Joey assumed that Suarez was going to be higher off the higher on the racetrack coming off turn 4. Suarez was not using all the racetrack, and they got together.
Laps continuing to wind down for this 300 miler, 200 laps from Chicagoland, the last race of the regular season for the Xfinity Series. After this one, it will be 12 drivers that will be able to fight for the championship. We ride along with Joey Logano. You see the eyes looking back up to the mirror as he has the 7 of Justin Allgaier all over the back of him. But you can also see the bumps. You see his helmet moving around and how rough this racetrack is.
Yeah, you saw Joey Logano lost the bottom of the racetrack. He drove in there, and to try to keep enough pace to keep the 7 from passing him on the exit of the corner, he tried to carry speed through the middle of the corner, and his car just will not stay where he needs to. So just does not have the handling like they needed on the 22.
Kyle Larson moved up to 4th, Marty.
And Rick, here comes that 42 once again for Kyle Larson, and they did check that damage from earlier. The right rear quarter panel is fine. They knocked it out a little bit. That left front fender, fine as well. He said, I don't know what happened, but the car all of a sudden very tight. Remember, he'd been loose for much of this race. But the one thing is for sure, Jeff, that 42 of Kyle Larson, he has been very aggressive this afternoon.
He has been exceptionally aggressive, and this is what we talk about with Kyle Larson. We all love to watch him race. It's so much fun to watch him because he treats every lap like it's the last lap. But thinking about tomorrow's race, can you afford to do this? Can you afford to be in the wall twice, to be in the side of other cars and work your way through these rounds? Today, he has nothing to lose, but going into tomorrow, he's going to have to think about that because points matter. You can't afford bad races.
One of the other variables that will come into play tomorrow when he's running in the Sprint Cup Series is restarts. He actually had this to say about the restarts here in the Xfinity Series.
The engine is not very good on restarts. It doesn't pull very good at all. 10-4 will relay the message.
So Kyle Larson running 4th. Made the comment about the engine's not very good, not pulling very well on the restart.
Yeah, that's some of the trick to restarting, especially in the Xfinity Series. These cars are restricted down a little bit on horsepower, and it's really hard to get them rolling. It's very important for them to accelerate. It sounds like Kyle Larson just doesn't feel like his accelerates as quick as it should.
Larson continuing to run right up against the wall. Daniel Suarez closing the gap now as he has caught up to the 42. Suarez, pretty good rebound after the issue on pit road, getting off of pit road, the damage that was done to both sides of that number 19. He made his way back up into the top 5.
It's so difficult if you're Suarez running behind Larson. Larson is running the top over here in 1 and 2, all the way against the wall. Suarez on the bottom of the racetrack. Now he has no aero disadvantage because nobody's in front of him in the middle of 1 and 2. He makes us look around in 1 and 2. But then as they go to 3 and 4, they both go to the bottom. So that really hurts Suarez in 3 and 4. But now he has that car in front of him, loses all that downforce. The car is not in the racetrack, does not make the grip he wants to make. So it won't surprise me if we see Suarez quickly move to the outside at 3 and 4 to try to get that clean air.
We'll see what strategy Suarez uses as Kyle Busch continues to lead. You'll see it all as we go NASCAR nonstop. And welcome back to Chicago, Illinois. Tomorrow on NBCSN, the first race of the chase for the Sprint Cup Series, racing from Chicagoland. That telecast presented by Toyota. Coverage begins at 2 p.m. Eastern.
It's going to be great. You can't even predict the chaos the playoffs bring. The pressure's mounting. Race 1, 16 drivers trying to work to advance out of the round of 16. Try to give them a guaranteed spot in the round of 12.
And welcome back to the NASCAR Xfinity Series racing from Chicagoland. Drive for Safety 300. The pole for tomorrow's race will go to Kyle Busch, who's leading this Xfinity race and won the Camping World Truck Series race last night. He has swept the Truck and Xfinity Series races in the same weekend 12 times before.
And not just the pole, Rick, but with qualifying canceled due to weather, all 16 chase drivers will take the front 8 rows. It couldn't be any better for the drop of the green flag.
It will definitely be exciting from the drop of the green flag all the way till the checkers, as that will be the first opportunity for chase drivers to get a win and secure their position in the round of 12, as Eric Jones is still able to stay out in front of the 42.
It's not going to be long, though. That 42 is coming quickly. He's been about 3/10 a lap quicker than Eric Jones. Caught him very quickly. We've seen this consistently with Kyle Larson. He's better on long runs in the Cup race as well as in the Xfinity races, especially on these multi-groove racetracks. He gets that top line working. He makes a bold move to the bottom, but he gets that top line working, and just amazing how fast he can go on long runs.
And Jeff, as he's trying to get around Eric Jones, he actually says the car is worse this run. He said it's a little more sluggish, is his word, sluggish, but tight. So a little tighter condition for that 42 car, yet he still finds time and makes speed. So doing very well, still trying to get around that 20 car.
What I like about the 42, though, is he's not committed to the top at both ends of the racetrack. That last time through 3 and 4, he ran the bottom. It didn't complete the pass, but looked like he gained some time. He's going to try it again. Goes all the way down to that white line. Just the goal is he has to just get close enough to try to use the momentum to get to the outside of the 20. I think if he could get to the outside through 1 and 2, he would easily clear him.
They'll all get one more shot at making adjustments, changes to the cars, as they'll have to come to pit road at least one more time for fuel before the end of this race.
You hear these drivers talk about clean air and the importance of clean air. Well, this is it right here. This is Kyle Larson ran him down, and he got this distance, and then he stalled out. He's not been able to make any more ground up, and it's just hard when your car makes less grip. And that's why you want to be where Kyle Busch is. Obviously, everybody wants to be leading the race, but it's such an advantage to be ahead of the pack.
Did you see Eric just put his hand up on the wheel, kind of like, where are all you lap cars going? I need that line. I need that position getting into turn 1. But this upcoming chase for Eric Jones, I think it's just going to be his only shot. Moving on, Sprint Cup next year for Furniture Row Racing out in the 77 car was announced earlier. They're going to add a second team. So he was one and done in the Truck Series, Rookie of the Year, and championship in the first year. Now he has the same chance to do the same thing in the Xfinity Series.
How about that? What a meteoric rise for the 20 and Eric Jones, winning a championship in the Truck Series, the very next year potentially winning a championship in the Xfinity Series, and then moving on to the Cup Series.
And a lot of young drivers around the country look up to Eric Jones as the example of how if you win races on a local level, if you do it the right way, you'll get that shot. It's been hard for young drivers to get the shot, but they look at him and say, hey, he won his way to the front. It wasn't because he had sponsors. It wasn't any of that. He did it on performance, and every opportunity he has had to show his talent, he's done it. He's won championships, won races, and he is the example they all look up to.
Dave.
And Rick, that 7-race Xfinity Chase starts next week, and 5 of the 7 tracks in it are very close to the same shape and size as the Chicagoland Speedway. Eric Jones says, I personally like 1.5-mile tracks, and my team, Joe Gibbs Racing, does very well at them. He could get that 2nd championship in a row. Kelly?
A couple spots back is the one of Elliott Sadler. Since taking 2 tires on the last stop, he called his car a 10 out of 10. Ty said it doesn't like 2 tires. What they do like, the mood of this team right now, they said we're still riding a high from our win at Darlington a couple weeks ago. Preparation at the shop is phenomenal. It's as prepared as I've ever felt for a championship run, said Elliott. Things are looking up for the 1 car, Marty.
Kelly, how about this rally for Daniel Suarez? Remember, contact on pit road on the first stop of the day, fell back to 31st. Here he is in 5th. He said the car much better on this run. As it stands right now, they'll go into the chase as the number 3 seed. Talked to his crew chief Scott Graves about bringing his best cars during the chase. He said next week at Kentucky, we're taking our Michigan winning car, our best car in our fleet, Kelly.
Justin Allgaier would love to pick up his second win on his home track here at Chicagoland. As far as the season goes, well, he said we started so strong, which is unusual for a new team, and it's not that we've become complacent, but it is easy to get comfortable. So these last couple of races, specifically today, is all about making changes to see what they can do to get better headed into the chase. Right now, Justin Allgaier saying he's a little bit tighter this run on these tires than he was the last time out. Behind him, you'll see the 3 of Ty Dillon. They came here to Chicago with a completely different package than they've ever run before. They said they found some speed in the simulator. They were excited to see how it would play out here. Well, Ty called them like a 5th or a 6th place car, wanted some changes, said he's getting tight, and now his crew chief saying, be ready, we're going to short pit you to try to make up some spots.
So you heard that. Potentially short pitting, meaning coming in before everyone else to try to get those fresher tires. We go NASCAR nonstop. And welcome back. You have seen Kyle Busch out front, has about a 7/10 of a second lead as we take a look at the Toyota driver update. First, second, and fifth for Kyle Busch, Eric Jones, and Daniel Suarez. All out of Joe Gibbs Racing. Kyle Busch has been dominant, 124 laps led of the 147. There will be green flag pit stops coming up. And they will be coming up fairly soon. We heard the strategy potentially for the 3 car of Ty Dillon, maybe short pitting, coming a little bit earlier and trying to take advantage of the fresher tires. We were listening into the one of Elliott Sadler just moments ago as far as strategy on the track.
I'm trying to run the top for you. What do you think, is that better or worse?
You were slower up there, and that's where like the 20's running, you know, top, 18's running top, 42 top. They say we can learn from it.
You hear Brett Griffith's spotter saying top. What that means is they're running the top in turns 1 and 2 and the tops in turns 3 and 4. So just letting Elliott Sadler know that's where they run both ends of the racetrack. You heard him say they was actually faster on the bottom. So, but these guys are a little bit quicker. So even though he's slower, he's saying, hey, let's run the top learn what your car needs to do better up there. So ultimately, that's maybe where we need to be in order to win the race.
Looks like the first green flag pit stops are about to get underway, and it's Clint Boyer that's going to come to pit road first in the 88s as the 20 of Eric Jones has closed the gap to 0.4 of a second between Kyle Busch and Eric Jones. And let's go to Dave.
Rick, he gave up 7th place to come into pit road right now. He said, I'm kind of in a box here. It's pretty loose in, but it hasn't turned the way I need it to all weekend long. So he is going to get a chassis adjustment. That's a track bar adjustment and 4 fresh Goodyear tires. The last fill of Sunoco fuel for the day, and see what he can make up from here.
I like that shortstop strategy. These guys trying to get on pit road a little bit early to take advantage of fresher tires.
And as Eric Jones closes in on the 18, it's going to be a cat and mouse game for these 3 leaders to see who comes to pit road first. If one of these cars can beat the other car to pit road by 1 lap, he'll end up the leader. Kelly?
Well, he wasn't the first one on pit road, but here is Ty Dillon. He had said his car was bottoming out harder and getting freer as the pace was raising. You see that they're going to give him 4 fresh Goodyear tires, Mike.
Brendan Poole on pit road now. His car's been a little bit free over the course of this run. They make an air pressure adjustment along with 4 tires and fuel.
And the one of Elliott Sadler started at 10 out of 10 tight, but got better. He said it's just tight through the middle and tight off. The team promising to make him a little bit better. You see the chassis adjustment there and hoping that 4 tires versus 2 will help him out on this, what could be the final run.
Paul Menard has had to rally back from an early race incident when he had a tire go down, but has made his way inside the top 15. The last run, he fired off a little bit tight. They'll try to free him up with an air pressure adjustment, 4 tires and fuel on the 2 car, Marty.
Mike, Kyle Larson coming down pit road, by far the fastest car for like the last 10 laps or so, despite all the damage and times they've hit the wall today. He said the car just a little bit too tight on that run. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to free it up like it was earlier in the race, Kelly.
Justin Allgaier in that 7 car said that he got a little bit tight on this run as well. They made a very slight chassis adjustment. They'll also give him 4 Goodyear tire Sunoco fuel.
And Kelly, Joey Logano here on pit road. He said the car just too tight at the 2/3 point in the corner. And he said we went too far on the latch adjustment. You see the wedge wrench going in, trying to loosen up that 22 car, Dave.
First and second, both on pit road. Eric Jones has the Cup crew of Denny Hamlin. They will try to beat the Cup crew of Kyle Busch. They'll both try to get their cars off of pit road as quick as possible. Time's usually about 11 seconds for a 4-tire stop. Kyle Busch gets an adjustment for his car. Boy, they exit just the way they came in.
Daniel Suarez with the Cup crew of Carl Edwards. Dropped the jack, head back down pit road. He said the car was loose entry, tight in the center, and loose on exit. They made a wedge adjustment, mostly trying to fix that loose condition going into the corner and off of the corner. He heads back out to the racetrack. Rick?
Yeah, being told the 42 of Kyle Larson speeding on pit road. Mistakes just can't be made if you want to try to win these races, especially late.
The 42 came to pit road a lap before the 18 of Kyle Busch. Jeff, you and I both thought that would give the 42 the lead, but Kyle Busch was more efficient on and off pit road, actually kept the lead from the 42, but with the speeding penalty, it was all for naught. Kyle Larson will have to make a trip to pit road.
Even with the 18 getting held up, getting on to pit road, he had to pass a slower car getting on to pit road. So that, with all that, I was surprised he kept the lead. Mike.
Brendan Gaughan on pit road now, Jeff. He's been saying he needs the car to cut a little bit better. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment, trying to help him get a little bit more rotation. 4 tires and fuel as well for Brendan Gaughan. Last time on pit road had a penalty. He's overcome it and run up inside the top 15.
You see behind that 62 of Brendan Gaughan, the 42 of Kyle Larson serving his penalty. With only 44 to go, I'm not going to say it's going to be impossible to overcome, but it's going to be a very, very steep hill at this point.
Currently 16 on the lead lap. Jeremy Clements running 16, but more than likely will lose that position as Ryan Preece out front. As soon as he pits, it will be Kyle Busch that will be the race leader once again. And there Ryan Preece now losing the lead to Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch working his way by the 51 of Jeremy Clements.
We've seen Kyle Busch. He's had really good takeoff speed. He's been faster when they first take off than Eric Jones has been. So right now, without Kyle Larson, with that penalty, Kyle Larson off, nowhere near it enables Kyle Busch to take it a little bit easier. He doesn't have to take full advantage of that speed, save a little bit of tire, because remember, at the end of that run, we saw Eric Jones running him down. So Kyle Busch has got to have in the back of his head that Eric Jones is a little better at the end of the run. Maybe save a little tire here at the start of this run to be better at the end.
This could be ironic in the situation of Eric Jones chasing down the 18 of Kyle Busch, because the reason that Eric Jones is even in a race car in the upper tier of NASCAR is because of Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch was racing against Eric Jones, Jeff, you had mentioned, at a local short track in the Snowball Derby, a very big race for late models, and Kyle Busch actually got beat by Eric Jones in a late model car, and Kyle went to Joe Gibbs and said, "This kid's legit. He's good." As the caution comes out, Kyle said, "You have to hire this kid. We've got to get this kid in a truck or a car at the highest level because he's got that talent." And so Kyle Busch actually hired him and put him into a truck. Eric Jones goes on, wins the Truck Series championship. Now in the Xfinity Series, potentially could win the championship in the Xfinity Series, and then we'll be moving to the Cup Series next season.
This caution will help Kyle Larson. He was able to stay on the lead lap, currently in the 14th position. Looks like there's at least one car in front of him that will need to hit pit road, maybe two, so he should line up about 12th or 11th on this restart with 40 to go. I'm not sure he can recover, but at least he has closed back up to the leaders.
His 42 car has dug himself a hole with an exceptionally fast race car. Early in the race, he tried to get by Suarez and carried so much speed getting into the corner. He just could not hold it. Gets into the wall, damages the right rear quarter panel, loses a lot of track position, and then that put him back in this situation where he was racing with Ryan Reed. Comes off the turn 2, gets into the right rear quarter panel with Ryan Reed, does more damage to his car, and then after running the leaders back down, overcoming all that stuff, comes on pit road under green, gets caught speeding. So 3 mistakes today for Kyle Larson. Those are mistakes that he cannot afford in tomorrow's race. The quality of competition here is tough, but not as tough as tomorrow. It is way, way harder to overcome these problems in the Sprint Cup race.
This is what Kyle Larson had to say on the radio after the speeding penalty.
Sorry about that. I mean, barely flashed a red probably, but I guess because the segments are a lot shorter now, it's just harder to get away with it.
Great point.
It has affected a lot of people. We have seen a spike in pit road penalties. It is more difficult than it's been. There's no question about it. And we talk about it every race, how fun he is to watch, how fast he is, all those kind of things. But he's got to find a way just to bring it down just a little bit. You know, still keep that speed, but bring it down. Listen, young race car driver. He is a young race car driver learning how to manage long races, and it is not an easy thing to do.
9 speeding penalties already today. The average at this racetrack, 3.7. So again, the addition of the speeding lines, more speeding zones on pit road, definitely has increased the penalties. And that has been at virtually every track. When those speed zones have been added, drivers using what they had done previously, it's not working.
And that's something we're going to continue to talk about as we see the one of Elliott Sadler peel off from the 4th position and come down pit road. Kelly?
And there was a little bit of debate, Steve, on whether or not they should come to pit road, and Elliott really just saying whatever you think gives us the best chance to win this race. I mean, forget about points. At this point, they want another race headed into the chase. You see they're changing the tires now. It looks like it will be a 4-tire change for the one. Meanwhile, it's Blake Cook who's trying to point his way into the chase. He stretched it out all the way to the end of his fuel run. No adjustments for the 11, just 4 tires in Sunoco fuel.
Kelly, the 39 of Ryan Sieg, gives up 13th position. He got back on the lead lap during that run. Remember, he was off strategy from earlier. He'll have a lot of adjustments to his race car to get it more secure, Marty.
Dave Joey Logano also choosing to pit here, and the debate for a lot of these teams was this would have been their last set of tire. Not the case for the 22 team. Remember, they stayed out earlier. They still have another set of tires and now have 4 fresh Goodyears on that 22. He'll see if he can make any progress on this run.
We'll see if Joe Logano can utilize the fresh Goodyear tires. Kyle Busch out front. We go NASCAR nonstop. You're watching NASCAR Xfinity Series Racing from Chicagoland, telecast presented by AutoZone. Busy day tomorrow, NASCAR America Sunday at 1:30 p.m. Sprint Cup Series countdown to green at 2, all on NBCSN. You look down there at 6:30. IndyCar Series Racing from Sonoma. The championship will be decided. 2 Penske drivers fighting for the top spot. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power. Should be a great ending to the 2016 season for the IndyCar Series.
Continuing to start your day with a little Singapore Grand Prix. Listen to Lee Diffie and the boys, a little F1 racing.
And tell you what, we saw last year, leaving this race, Kevin Harvick had such a fast race car, had problems on one of the restarts, ended up cutting a tire. He dug a hole. They had to overcome it. But who is going to come out of here tomorrow in good position, and who is going to have ground to make up?
You know, this interesting turn of events here, the 42 too fast during the green flag cycle served as penalty. Well, with the quick caution and then some cars that have pitted, Kyle Larson's all the way back up to 7th all of a sudden, just basically being the benefit of cars deciding to pit.
Cleaning the tires, warming them up as they get ready for the restart going down the backstretch. 2x2 once again. Eric Jones on the outside, Kyle Busch on the inside this time.
That's interesting. We've seen what's so important is the cars behind pushing. So I wonder if the 18 of Kyle Busch looked in his mirror and saw Clint Boyer behind him, it feels like he's going to be a better pusher or something. But that's a tough call. He tried the inside once early and didn't work. Tried the outside once early and that didn't work either. We'll see how it works out this time.
Yeah, we'll see if the inside line works for him this time. Eric Jones on the outside, Kyle Busch on the inside. Back into the restart zone. Back under green.
Boy did a nice job of timing that. Getting to his rear bumper at the right time.
Pack making their way into turn 1. Clint Boyer dropping back a bit. Justin Allgaier able to get in front of him for 3rd. And the race still on for the lead. Eric Jones still up high. Kyle Busch right on the white line. Up the racetrack he goes, blocks the 20 as they come across the start-finish line. Kyle Busch back out front.
Clint Boyer on the very bottom of the racetrack, using all that apron, trying to shorten the racetrack up all he can.
Justin Allgaier, great story from Riverton, Illinois. An Illinois native trying to take 2nd away from Eric Jones now.
That's a tough pass. The 20 of Eric Jones laid his left front fender right on the right rear quarter panel of that 7 car, getting in the corner, pulled the air off the spoiler, took the momentum away from the 7 car.
They continue to fight door to door as they work their way through 1 and 2 now.
And Kyle Busch loves to see that as they battle for 2nd. It's allowing Kyle Busch to extend his lead a little bit.
See, loose Eric Jones got off turn 2.
Check up, and that allows the 7 of Justin Allgaier now a little bit cleaner air as he's not fighting door to door anymore. See if he can have anything for Kyle Busch. No one has up to this point with 33 to go.
Look at the 20 Eric Jones on the outside, trying to lay the throttle down, gets way loose on the exit of 2, had to lift off the throttle, lost all his momentum.
Well, Jeff, you mentioned on the restarts how it could be the car behind you that makes all the difference. Well, Kyle Busch puts that left hand out the window and gives the 88 of Clint Boyer right there a little bit of wave. Right before he goes, he lets the 88 know it's time to go because he wants the 88 right to his rear bumper just like that to push him past the 20.
Shouldn't he be shifting?
Well, he has 2 hands. I don't know what's on the wheel, but the left's out the window and the right shifting.
Sticking out the window.
Yeah.
He gets his hand back on the wheel before he shifts. He doesn't drive it with his knee, I promise.
You mentioned Justin Allgaier in that 2nd position, Rick. You know, this is, I'll call it a hometown race for him, but also a hometown race for Brandt. You see the whole back straightaway covered with those Brandt decals. They have a lot of employees here, we heard today, a lot of associates with them. What a good run for the 7.
Absolutely, as they're looking to go 3 wide here. Ty Dillon in the 3. Was down at the bottom. Elliott Sadler in the 1 was looking to go through the middle, and the 42 of Kyle Larson up top. Take a look at this.
Dillon trying to side draft the 42 to slow his momentum down. If you could get that right front fender on the car in front, the car next to you's left rear quarter panel. It just stacks all the air on the spoiler, and it puts a tremendous amount of drag on that car, slowing it down the straightaway.
Big run for the 42. Coming up behind the 22 of Logano. Logano goes down low. The 42 goes by on the outside.
This is about the same point in a run that we saw the last time, where Kyle Larson's car seems to come in. It's just not great on new tires. It takes time. It doesn't fire off as quick as the other cars. And once they get running, Jeff, and can get a little rhythm up top, he seems to make some speed.
He's given up so much time, though, at the start of this, on this restart. You know, he's already a pretty far distance back, 4.5 seconds, so it'll be hard to overcome that.
This was the 42-22 just a bit earlier. How close it got. Again, Kyle Larson running ninth as Ty Dillon in front of him. Logano looking to the inside now.
This is what the 42 needs right here. He needed a 3 to run the bottom, so he had the top lane. He's really good driving off the corner of the top lane. This hopefully will give him enough momentum to cross the 3 over.
Got a pretty good run on him. We'll see if the 3 goes low again. He does. And Kyle Larson's going to stay right up near the wall, trying to make the pass.
I think the 3 of Ty tried to block him. It's just Kyle got there so quickly, and then when he got in the corner, he wasn't quite able to get to the bottom. The 3 car wasn't. And again, we keep talking about momentum, but with these cars with less horsepower, momentum is so important. If you ever have to breathe out of that throttle or not go back to the throttle as quickly as you want to, it just kills your straightaway speed.
Well, and we've been watching Kyle Larson here continue to move up through the field. He's not the only one that's moved to the top of the racetrack. You go up to the battle of the lead. We have the 7 of Justin Allgaier right on the wall, and the 20 of Eric Jones. They've moved up before the leader of Kyle Busch, and the last 2 laps they've closed the lead. All 3 cars now within a second.
Brendan Gaughan in the 62 just lost a spot to Kyle Larson in the 42. So Larson continuing to move toward the front, but the laps winding down is just 26 to go. Probably not enough time for Larson to be able to get up there, reel in the 18 of Kyle Busch, but Kyle Busch has got his hands full already with Justin Allgaier and Eric Jones.
I don't think Kyle Busch has seen the last of Eric Jones yet. He's definitely trying to work that top in, but I agree. Kyle Larson, maybe the fastest race car here. We don't know. We haven't seen him battle against Kyle Busch yet, but with only 25 to go, it's a long ways behind him.
Larson 5 seconds behind Kyle Busch. The gap only a half a second between Kyle Busch and Justin Allgaier. As we go NASCAR nonstop. Welcome back to Chicagoland Speedway as Kyle Busch out front, about 0.8 of a second in front of Justin Allgaier and Eric Jones, who are running second and third. For some updates, let's go to Dave Burns.
And the 18 of Kyle Busch, of course, is not eligible for the Xfinity Chase. His teammate Eric Jones is, and Jones would like to get around Allgaier and the 18 of Kyle Busch to get the moral victory, but also to get the momentum heading into the chase that a victory would give him. His last win in the series, July 30th at the Iowa Speedway. He'd like to make it another one this afternoon, Marty.
Dave, remember last year Scott Graves, the crew chief for Daniel Suarez, won the Xfinity Series championship with Chris Buescher as his driver. He told me last year every race was so pressure-packed, but this year, since we won in Michigan, it's been laid back and been fun. Caution, Kyle Busch spun.
Marty, around goes the 18 of Kyle Busch.
Looks like he's a right rear down.
Right rear down. He was sliding through the turn. Looks like the left is gone as well. Well, up, but maybe shredded.
The second and third place guys.
Fluid tire getting in.
Had started to run him down.
Right.
I wonder if he had a tire slowly going down.
Jeff, he tapped the wall about 10 or 15 laps ago, and it undid some of the ductwork, or some of the metal work underneath that right rear fender, but didn't think it was a problem. But there was a gap there, and that wasn't normal.
Get another look. As you see the right rear tire as well.
Entering turn one, he's just, you can see he's off the pace right there. The car's moving around. You see how quickly the 7 catches in. Does a great job of missing the 18. So does the 20 of Eric Jones. So he definitely had a tire issue right there on corner entry, and you see he just can't control it on corner exit.
Wow, those two guys behind him, you don't expect the leader just to slow down like that. They did a really nice job to avoid him.
Justin Allgaier ducking to the left. Watch this.
Look at Eric Jones. Look how close that is.
Yeah, because Eric Jones is looking at the 7. He's more focused on the 7, and all of a sudden the 7 starts to move down, and there's the 18 right in front of Eric Jones, but a very good move to miss him. And now we see the 7 and 20 making their way onto pit road. Mike.
And Justin Alexander, the crew chief for Paul Menard, saying, take your cues from the leaders. If they come down pit road, I want you to follow them. That's exactly what happened. The call from Menard is a 2-tire change. Team going to work on the right side there and taking on Sunoco race fuel. Kelly.
Justin Allgaier pits from the lead at his hometown track. He said he was just a little bit too free on exit, otherwise good. They made a slight chassis adjustment, 4 tires, Marty.
Daniel Suarez pits from 5th. He said, I'm too loose in. I need to turn better center exit. That's been a problem all afternoon long. A little longer here on the left side, Dave.
Eric Jones likes his race car. He'll get 4 fresh tires and fuel and head off pit road. Paul Menard took 2 tires only.
Menard, 2 tires, moves up 2 spots. Justin Allgaier, Eric Jones getting 4 tires. Kyle Busch, right rear going down, and around he goes. while we're under the 8th caution here at Chicagoland. Take a look at what's happening tomorrow. NASCAR America 1:30, countdown to green at 2. First race of the chase for the Sprint Cup Series. Chicagoland at 2:30. Then NASCAR America post race at 6. And the last race of the season for the IndyCar Series, that at Sonoma. That begins at 6:30. And what a battle they have building between the two Penske drivers. Simon Pagenaud, Will Power. Will Power actually missed the first race of the season and was not in that first race at St. Pete. Simon Pagenaud, 4 wins, as well as Will Power on the season. And right now, as they enter that final race, a 43-point deficit for Will Power. Both drivers drive for Team Penske, so it's a guarantee that Penske will win the championship. It's just a question of which driver.
Yeah, Simon Pagenaud's had such a great year. It's really a breakout season for Simon. You know, didn't have the best first year at Penske, but here in year 2 really seemed to put it together, a whole season-long run.
And pit crew for the 18 came over the wall a little bit too soon, and so that means that the 18 will have to start at the back of the field.
So basically, Rick, we have the front row of Elliott Sadler and Clint Boyer, the 2 Junior Motorsports Chevrolets. They decided to stay on the racetrack. They didn't come to pit road, so they have older tires. And you look at the 2 of Menard, the 7 of Allgaier. They all have fresher tires.
Menard did 2 tires. Justin Allgaier, he did 4. So I like the position Justin Allgaier's in, sitting in that outside lane. The 2 guys in front of him have older tires. Same thing we saw at Richmond last week. What's going to be so important is who can get accelerating with these old tires, who can get accelerating in the restart zone on this front row, who can lead this race into turn 1, because you're going to have to get away from, look right here, the 42 and the outside line. You know where he's going. He's going to go high, and he's going to try to get to the front. So you've got to build some momentum and get it moving from him.
Get the older tires on that outside line of row 1. Clint Boyer in the 88 trying to make something happen. Elliott Sadler on the inside of row 1 as they come into the restart zone. Fanning out behind that front row. 3 wide as they go into turn 1.
The 7 needed to climb the hill and try to block the outside for Kyle Larson. Here comes the 42, 3 wide up top.
That is 4 wide and 1 into the wall. Looks as though it was the 33 of Brandon Jones that got into the wall. He's still going. The battle for the lead, Elliott Sadler out front.
Sadler once again able to drive the car deep into turn 3 and clear to Clint Boyer. Here comes the 20 of Eric Jones.
Eric Jones using the apron, trying to shorten the racetrack as he goes into turn number 1, getting by the 88 of Clint Boyer. Again, the older tires on that 88. He slides through turn 2 and onto the backstretch.
That'll make it easy for Kyle Larson in the 42 to clear the 88. Remember, there's still 13 laps to go. Still a long time for these cars.
Joey Logano in the 22, right along that white line.
By the looks of all this, we haven't seen our last caution. A lot of aggressive racing, but now that Eric Jones has caught the 1 of Elliott Sadler, he's going to have to get by him quickly. If he can't get by him quickly, Kyle Larson's going to be coming at a high rate of speed, so got to try to find a way around now.
Elliott Sadler trying to make that number 1 as wide as he possibly can. Choose the right line. He's going down low in front of Eric Jones.
And after all this time, we have 2 Xfinity regulators at the front of this field. So much talk about Larson, Boyer, Logano, Busch, and the Sprint Cup regulars. But here it is. These 2, I believe, are who we're going to see battle all the way to Miami. These are the 2 championship favorites.
Remember, we saw the 1 of Elliott Sadler win Darlington in a late race battle, made a mistake on the last lap, was able to withstand the battle, the charge coming from the Cup regular Denny Hamlin. So he's used to being in this situation.
And now it's all about mistakes. The 1 just has to not let the 20 by, not make a mistake, somehow focus out the windshield. The 20, I really believe as he gets later in this run, the top will come in, maybe a couple more laps, and that'll open up options. And then it'll be very hard for Elliott Sadler to hold him behind him.
And there he goes. That's the first move to the middle of the racetrack, trying to get that outside to work. Let's see if he gains it down the back straightaway.
Less than 10 laps to go. The race for the lead continues. Elliott Sadler, Eric Jones. Jones is going to run a little higher line as Sadler ducks down to the bottom of the racetrack. all the while, still closing the gap, the 42 of Kyle Larson.
Elliott has a decision to make right now. Does he go to the top and try to block that momentum or go back to the bottom?
He goes to the bottom. Eric Jones stays up high. They get 3 bonus points.
Big run coming. Big run.
A lot of momentum. Looks to the inside. Eric Jones goes by as they go into turn 3.
Well, it's not done yet.
Up the racetrack he goes. He completes the pass.
He's on fresh tires. Got a huge lead on third.
Elliott did all he could. He got as close to the 20 as he could. Tried to pull the air off the spoiler. Just wasn't enough.
Less than 8 laps to go. Eric Jones, the 20-year-old out of Byron, Michigan, out in front. Elliott Sadler.
I'm impressed, though. I thought the 1 would lose more time in 3 and 4 than he did. I think moving up the racetrack actually helped the 1 a little bit that last lap. We'll see if he can find a little bit of speed to stay in touch with the 20.
Right there, he guessed that the 20 of Eric Jones would go to the bottom of the racetrack, but he to the top of the racetrack, rather, but he went to the bottom of the racetrack. Just a wrong guess by Elliott. That's all you can do is try to guess which direction he's going to go in, and then you do the opposite.
As we watch these two, Kyle Larson runs the fastest lap of anyone in the field back in 3rd.
Is there enough time for Kyle Larson, though, as he's 1 second back, and the laps continue to wind down, under 7 to go.
The thing about Kyle Larson is that we've seen like a light switch so many times, not just today, but a lot of times when this top lane gets going, it's like a light switch, and he just takes off. Like he'll be 3, 4, 5 tenths of a second a lap quicker than the guys he's racing. So he's going to need that switch right now, though, with only 6 to go.
We're seeing the gap close.
Well, this is going to help with the 1 of Elliott Sadler running the bottom. That'll keep Kyle Larson in clean air up top. Will Elliott leave him a lane off the corner? He'll come up in front of him.
Trying to take away that high lane, but the 42 easily by the 1 of Elliott Sadler now. Kyle Larson into 2nd, less than 6 to go.
And remember, early in the race, we heard the spotter telling Elliott Sadler where other people were running. Elliott was slower on the top of the racetrack, so he's kind of handcuffed. He's got to run the bottom. His car just is not as fast on the top.
Jeff, remember all day long, Kyle Larson been very good on these longer runs. Does he have enough time? The team asked him, is the car any better on this run, this short run? He said 1 word, better. So they might be able to catch him here. Going to be interesting 5 laps.
Well, he's making time. You mentioned that light switch. That last lap by, he gained a little over 1/10 of a second while passing the 1 of Elliott Sadler.
There's the gap. Can he get it under 200 feet? 5 laps and now 4 to go. 4 laps remaining from Chicagoland.
It's 2 tenths quicker that lap, 2 tenths of a second, so he is definitely faster.
Eric Jones trying to get his 4th win.
His 33.
He already is the winningest Xfinity Series driver this season.
And now what do you do if you're Eric Jones? You have the same decision to make when it was Elliott Sadler. He thinks his car is better up top, down bottom. The 42 he knows is better up top. When does he leave the bottom to try to protect? When does he move the defense?
Look how much the gap's been shut. We just saw it over 200 feet. Now it's almost down to 130.
3 laps to go. The gap less than a half a second.
And Eric Jones moves to the top. He has switched to the defensive mode. Take away the line of the 42.
Right now, Eric Jones fighting for 3 bonus points. For the win, he will get 3 more bonus points to start the chase. To the bottom of the track goes Kyle Larson.
We saw a little while ago Kyle Larson trying to slide job, trying to drive into 1 very, very deep and try to get in front of the car in front of him. That's going to have to be his move as Eric Jones takes the top of the racetrack.
Eric Jones stays right in front of the 42 as they go through 1 and 2. Down the backstretch. What's the strategy now? Does he try to take away that line? Here goes the 42 to the bottom. Eric Jones hangs on. He needs to do it 1 more time. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. 3 bonus points on the line if Eric Jones can stay out front. Win his 4th race of the season. Up against the wall goes the 42 of Kyle Larson.
He broke the wall by 5. Smooth down here.
Through 3 and 4. For the last time. Eric Jones stays up high. Eric Jones comes to the finish line. He'll see the checkers in Chicagoland.
How about that on a hot, slick Chicago team? That's 4 stickers. Very proud of you. This is not an easy one, but you did it.
What an incredible year that young man is having.
Good job, Gabehart. Thank you.
Eric Jones wins his 4th race of the 2016 season. He is definitely the favorite going into the chase, which will begin next week. 4 wins, 12 bonus points for Eric Jones.
Great work, man. Great work.
Eric, just 20 years old, already has been tabbed by Furniture Row. He will run in the Sprint Cup Series in 2017, but before he does that, he wants to add another championship to his resume. A year ago, he won the Camping World Truck Series championship. Now with this win, easily the favorite. The 7 races in the chase for the Xfinity Series, 5 of them on 1.5-mile tracks. Eric Jones shows how good he is on this 1.5 miles before the chase begins.
He did a great job doing everything he needed to do, moved up. You said it, Steve. He had a decision to make. He made the right decision, took away the line that Kyle Larson needed to get this win. So really nice move, veteran move by a young race car driver.
"12 drivers are now set. That will be the points as they will head to Kentucky next weekend. A 12-point advantage. Only 3 drivers found victory lane in the Xfinity Series regulars. Eric Jones, 4 wins. Elliott Sadler, 2 wins. Daniel Suarez, 1 win. Brandon Jones, Blake Cook, Ryan Reed, Ryan Sieg, all able to hang on to positions in the chase as Eric Jones makes his way up to get the checkered flag. Celebration just beginning for Eric Jones. An impressive field that he was able to better today at Chicagoland Speedway. Eric Jones wins at Chicagoland. Big day tomorrow on NBCSN. Sprint Cup Series countdown to green, 2 o'clock Eastern, 2:30. Sprint Cup Series kicks off the chase. Chicagoland Speedway. Post race at 6 o'clock. IndyCar Series racing from Sonoma at 6:30. Victory lap. Wrapping it all up at 9:30 p.m. Eastern tomorrow, again on NBCSN. We see Eric Jones making his way into victory lane.
Just think about what the race we saw here in the closing laps tomorrow with the chase on the line, the options for these drivers to run the bottom, the middle, up against the wall. It's going to be a great race.
Also, it's how important it is to get tires. Tires are going to matter. So strategies of when to pit, how often to pit, all those things are going to come into play as well.
Congratulations to all 12 drivers in this inaugural chase for the Xfinity Series. It will be the first class that will be utilizing the chase format for the Xfinity Series. Points reset, as we mentioned. And again, the last win of the regular season by Eric Jones. Dave?
Here he is in victory lane. Eric Jones serving notice that he will be one to contend with for the Xfinity Series Championship. I should say serving notice again. 4th win of the season for you, young man. And how would you describe how you had to hold off the 42 there at the end?
Man, it was tough. You know, I knew we were in a good spot on tires, but we were pretty far back. I think we restarted 6th there, so I didn't know if the Hisense camera was going to have enough time to get back up to the front, but we had a really good restart, got clear for 3rd, and then just had to go and chase Elliott down, and just a matter of time before we got around him. But man, what an awesome day. Get a win here right before the chase. This is some great momentum for us. I'm just really excited. It's our 2nd win here at Chicago, but just couldn't do it without GameStop, Reesers, DeWalt Flexible, Interstate, Toyota, JGR Engines, and NASCAR Xfinity for putting this all together for us.
What kind of a launching point does this give you for the chase?
Just a lot of momentum, man. You know, I wish this was our first round right here, but we'll go into Kentucky definitely with a full head of steam and charging for another win there. Our mile-and-a-half program's great. It's been great all year, and it's nice to finally get a first mile-and-a-half win for the year. So just looking forward to getting to Kentucky next weekend and trying to chase down another one.
Big, important win for Eric Jones at Chicagoland today.
Take a look at the chase grid. They will have the round of 12. As we just heard Eric mention, it will start at Kentucky next week. They'll go 3 races, eliminate 4 drivers, down to the round of 8, and then the championship 4.
In this round of 12, there's only 12 versus the Cup where it's 16. This intensity picks up immediately for these guys. It is game on right now as soon as they get to the racetrack.
And there are only 3 cars with bonus points, Rick. So when you look at the points rundown, Eric Jones, Elliott Sadler, Daniel Squires will be taking some bonus points in round 1, but a whole group of other cars all tied heading into that 3-race round of 12.
And again, remember tomorrow what an incredible race it will be as the first race of the chase for the Sprint Cup Series.
Well, look how challenging it was today. Kyle Busch got up into the wall, perhaps causing a flat tire. 42 of Kyle Larson was speeding on pit road. We saw mistakes already in today's race. Tomorrow, the penalties will be even larger with all the points at stake.
And the 16 drivers will all start in the first 8 rows because the field's set by owner's points because of the rain in the area that came through on qualifying day. Coming up next on NBC will be your local news, except on the West Coast, followed by NBC Nightly News. And then at 7:30 p.m. Eastern, college football. Michigan State at Notre Dame. Congratulations, Eric Jones.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.